First Coast News on your side special report.
Good afternoon, I'm Jeannie Blaylock. We are coming on the air at this hour with an update on that confirmed shooting at Florida State University. Law enforcement confirming a shooting on campus in Tallahassee. The school is reporting an active shooting in the area near the student union. We know now that at least 4 have been hospitalized, and ABC News is reporting that multiple sources are saying that a suspect, at least one suspect, is in custody. So here's an image sent to us by a mom whose daughter is attending the school, and of course this represents the fear of a lot of parents right now trying to make sure their kids are okay. But in this situation, you can see the desks, other items, boxes, anything they had stacked in front of a door. Here's a live look right now at the campus, and we know, at least as we say, 4 people have been hospitalized. The university alert system sent a message out just after noon. The alert, in fact, started at 12:02. And the alert said to everybody on campus that all classes were canceled, activities were canceled. Go stay in wherever you are, lock your windows, lock your doors, and don't go in front of your window. That came out at 12:02. So right now the message is telling students to stay safe, seek shelter, and await any further instructions. And we also want to tell you as well, we are speaking on the phone with someone right now. Her name is Kyla Grogan. Kyla and I have been talking for a little while. Kyla, can you hear me right now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, we really appreciate, I know that this is a shaky situation for you, but she told me a minute ago that she feels safe because the police have been around her. But what has been happening has been harrowing to Kyla. So you've been moved now 3 times, is that right? Where did you start out? What building were you in when you first heard about this, Kyla?
I started out in Cough and Referral in my English class.
Okay.
Then they moved us outside and then to another building. Now they say they're moving us to the Civic Center, which is like our arena here.
All right, so are you outside right now, or can you tell us where you are?
We are still in the second floor building. They're just looking around, I guess, checking.
Had they indicated to you whether they're concerned about another active shooter or why you would have to move again?
No, the only thing they said is I guess they're trying to get people to one area because people have been separated, like from friends and teachers and stuff.
Okay, and so let's go back to when you were in that English class, Kyla. We want to tell everybody kind of what happened. How did you all find out about it when you were right in the middle of class?
Well, we were just doing like a peer review, and someone just raised their hand and said they got a text from FSU saying there's an active shooter. So we kind of just did what we do in high school, where you all go to the back, away from windows and doors.
And so when you did in high school, you'd already practiced that sort of thing. Unfortunately, that's the way society is now. And then you stayed in that classroom and got down. Did you move your body somewhere away from the windows, or what did you have to do?
We moved against the wall away from the window and all sat down.
Okay. And Kyla, I want to make sure that you know, too, that ABC News is reporting that there is a suspect, at least one suspect, in custody. Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, very good. What about the police? What are they saying to you now? Something about having your arms up in the air when you go outside. Are they still taking you outside?
Yes, but they said it's going to take a long time because of how many of us there are.
It's going to take a long time. I'm trying to make sure I do understand you, and we do appreciate your talking. It's kind of noisy, but you're saying it's going to take a long time. They're saying for you all to be moved. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and then can you see out a window? I know you're not supposed to be near a window, but what are you actually seeing right now?
I can't necessarily see out a window, but I knew when we were outside, because we were right next to where it started, there's like police cars lining the road.
Yeah, and we're seeing pictures right now. I know there's been a lot of police and a lot of sirens. Have the sirens died down now? Is it quiet or is it not?
It's pretty quiet, but people are on their phones and stuff like that, so it's not like dead silent.
And I'm sure that everybody's been calling their family. Have all your friends reached their moms and dads and grandmas? Everybody worried about them?
Yes, I've reached out to all my friends and family and everyone I know here.
Okay.
And at least of my friends, they're safe.
So tell me what, if a mom or a dad you have in your family, what did they say when they finally heard your voice that you were okay?
Well, I talked to my aunt, and we have a big group chat so I can let everybody know I was safe. My sister received out trying to send me videos to make me laugh.
Oh, she is. Did that help?
She sent me a playlist.
There's a slight laugh, so we're glad to hear a little bit of relaxed tone in your voice. I can't even imagine how scary this has been. I'm trying to understand, Kyla. If I understand you correctly, you were close to the student union where the shooting started. Is that right? How close were you?
It's like a 2 to 3 minute walk. It's like literally right across the street.
Could you hear gunshots?
All I heard was sirens. I didn't hear gunshots.
Did you see people running?
The only time I saw people running when we got evacuated for the first time, I think people got spooked and started running.
And so that was not under police direction. They were just running out of buildings, or where were they going?
Correct. I think someone thought someone was happening.
Okay.
And in like herd mentality, everybody started running.
And so, Kyla, what did you learn in high school? Where did you go to high school, by the way?
I went to Miami Killian.
Okay, what did you learn in high school that you're using right now?
To lock the doors if possible, put stuff in front of doors, sit down so nobody can see you, close windows, stay quiet.
Okay, and then right now, are there still police near you telling you to stay put? Or how many officers? Give us maybe an idea of what you're seeing as far as instruction. How many people are telling you to stay put and then you have to go back outside here shortly?
There's at least 10 officers, at least on this floor, that I can see, but they aren't really saying much.
There are 10 police officers that you can see on the floor. And the kind of building you're in right now, is it a classroom building or?
It's our anthropology building, so it's like a mix of archives and classrooms.
Okay. And so 10, they look like police officers, like city police officers, or can you tell if they're U.S. Marshals, or you may not know the difference in the uniform?
I know there's campus police and then regular police, but I don't know about anything else.
I understand. Well, Kyla, for all the moms and dads and family listening to you right now saying maybe they haven't been able to find out if their students are okay, what message do you have? Do you feel like you all are safe? What are they doing to keep you safe? What would you tell families listening and worried?
They're being pretty direct and clear. I think everybody knows what to do. I feel safe because they're here. There's a lot of them here. I think the dorms lock automatically. Nobody can come in or out. I think as long as you're staying in place, you should be fine.
Okay, and we understand now that President Trump has been briefed about what's going on, and we understand that that is obviously all over the news around the country live. And Kyla, if you could stand by with me for just one moment. We have our crime and safety analyst, Ken Jefferson, who's spent many, many decades in law enforcement, and you might be interested in hearing what he has to say. And I know you couldn't quite hear Kyla, it was a bit noisy, but she was saying that she's been moved once, moved again, and now she's being told that she's going to be moved outside with her arms up in the air. What does that say to you that police are still moving students around?
Well, they're searching the area. They don't know if it's one person or this person has an accomplice. It's our understanding that one person has been taken into custody. Are there more? The police didn't know that at the time, and they don't know who that suspect may be. So everybody has to come out in a surrender type mode to show their compliance with law enforcement. They've got a lot of buildings to search. They've got a lot of students to move around. So it's not uncommon for them to be moved more than once.
And as far as when this initially happened at 12:02, now we are at 1:43. It's a large campus, a lot of people, chaos, police everywhere. If it's a single shooter, if there's more than one shooter, is it logical that they could escape with all these people watching?
Well, anything can happen, but you know, you got a large presence of law enforcement now. You can imagine you've got the Florida State University Police there, Tallahassee Police Department, Leon County Police Department, Sheriff's Office, and any other adjacent jurisdiction that can come over and help. So they've got a large police presence. That's not to say that a person can escape, but it'll be very difficult for them to escape because the police are scouring the area very dutifully.
And so dive into what we would know from your law enforcement about the mental state of someone who would open fire in a student union. That's already a crowded place.
Yeah, well, you don't know what the situation is at this point. You know, was this person suffering from some kind of mental illness? Did they have a mental illness crisis? were they upset or angry with a professor or student or boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. We don't know the situation as far as the state of mind is concerned. All we know is right now that that person had a weapon, a deadly weapon, and has injured several people and could have possibly killed some people. So the objective is to find that person, get as much information as you can from witnesses to describe what that person looks like, what they're wearing, the last direction of travel that they were going in, and use that information to hone in on where that person was and get him.
And so let's just hold on with me for a moment, Ken. And Kyla, are you still on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you for being so polite. Kyla, have they given you any more instructions? Are you supposed to go back outside now and move to another building, or are you still supposed to stand quietly where you are, or sit quietly?
Can you repeat the question?
Are you
Sorry,
being
there's a lot of
moved
noise.
still, or are you supposed to stay put?
They're moving us, but I think they're just moving us inside classrooms.
They're moving you to inside classroom. Okay, but you have been moved from one building to the next outside once, right?
Yes.
So, Kyle, I'm
Yes.
going to ask Ken Jefferson here why that is. You know, as a parent, I think I don't want my child outside. That seems more scary and more dangerous.
Well, if law enforcement is moving her, she's safe because they're on the scene. They're not going to let anything happen to any students that they're moving. They're rendering her safe. So they could be moving her so that they can check where she last was, or moving her to a safer location that's in their opinion. But if law enforcement is there and they're doing the instructions, she's safe.
Okay, we remember back in 2014 there was a shooting at FSU. It was in the library, and that shooter was taken down and killed. But there were 3 people injured in that situation. I remember we were there all those years ago, and people were horrified then, just as they are horrified now. It's one of those things that you think, when is this going to hit nearby? And so Kyla is still on the phone as well, and we want to chat back with her. Is there a question that you would like to ask Kyla from your expertise that I'm not asking her, Ken?
No, just a piece of advice. Just follow the instructions of the law enforcement officers, because they're there. They're trained for these type of situations. If they're moving you, they're moving you for a reason. If they're instructing you to do certain things, just follow their direction. If you're there with them, you're basically safe at this particular time. So just stay calm as you can. It's hard to stay calm in a situation like this. But stay calm, follow the instructions of the law enforcement officer, and you'll make it out safely.
And for anybody who's been to FSU or any college campus, you may be wondering what I'm wondering is how on earth are they ever going to clear this scene? How do you check every building, every bush, every alley, and ever decide that it's safe for the students to be finished with this?
Well, they deploy all their resources. They not only have boots on the ground, but they've got air units, they've got K-9 units, they've got people that will be volunteers to come and help them with their search. They've got reserve officers they can call in on automatic recall lists, whatever. There are ways, trust me, law enforcement knows how to handle this type of situation. It's a very large campus, of course it is, but it's not the first campus that's had a active shooter that's been of this particular nature, as large as a Florida State University. So they know what they're doing. We have to trust the process, we have to cooperate with them and manage to get out safely.
So let's talk about the situation wherever the suspect is. Maybe he's in a patrol car right now, or the one they've got in custody. What happens behind the scenes? That they want information from this particular person. How does that process work?
Well, they're not going to interrogate him in a patrol car. They're going to take him to a station, somewhere to an interrogation room, get him away from that scene, and they're going to try to get as much information out of him as they possibly can. Now, sometimes, you know, they're non-compliant. They're not going to talk. They're not going to cooperate or anything of that nature. So that does not prohibit the police from doing their job for rendering the area safe for everybody so that they can reopen and conduct business as usual. So upon an arrest in a situation like this, you get the person in custody, you get them away from that scene, and you begin you give them their rights because there's a due process, and you begin to question them, and hopefully they'll cooperate with you.
So if you're just joining us right now, yes, an active shooter announced at 12:02 for an alert sent out by FSU to students and teachers and everybody on campus. At that point, they were told to get away from windows, to get away from doors, and stay put and stay quiet. A lot of them we just understood from Kyla. She has had this training in high school. Unfortunately, this has been going on for years, and they knew what to do. We have then had it confirmed through ABC's multiple sources that one suspect, as you see on the screen, is in custody. Obviously, the scene is not finished. And so that's the point that makes everybody nervous. If the suspect is refusing to talk, I'm sure they're asking him, is there anybody else involved with you? And he won't say. What kind of police methods are being used to find out whether he's with another person who's got a gun?
Well, that's what I meant by if he's not cooperating, that's not going to stop them from searching. The search will continue. They'll continue to scour the area. They'll continue to pull students out, as you said, with their hands up. They'll continue to do the thing, and they'll determine whether or not if there's another suspect, whether he talks or not.
All right, let's go back to Kyla. Kyla, you are still in kind of a classroom area, is that right?
Ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I'm just getting a notice from my producer, and let me listen to that for one moment. Tallahassee Memorial, which I believe has a trauma unit, has confirmed that they have received 6 patients, 1 in critical condition, and the rest of them are in serious condition. So again, Tallahassee Memorial, which has a trauma unit, has now confirmed they have received 1 person, and we don't know if it's a student or not. Did they say student, Mike, our producer? Or did they say people? 6 patients, okay. It's 5 in serious condition and 1 in critical condition. So before we had been told that 4 people had been shot by either 1 or more gunmen, but now we know it's 6, and they are at Tallahassee Memorial with the trauma center. So Kyla, I'm glad you're safe. I know your family is incredibly relieved that you're safe there, but tell us what's going on now. Are police saying anything to you? Do you still see about 10 of them in the hallway there, police officers?
They have moved us back into classrooms, but they haven't done anything.
And so when they move you back in the classroom, what do they say?
Just to get out the hallway.
Okay, for those of us who've not been on FSU's campus, help us understand the student union. Where is that on campus compared to, say, the football stadium or something that's familiar to everybody?
So the football stadium is about a 35-minute walk, but our football stadium isn't really at the center of campus. Our center of campus is what is called Lannis. So that is about a 5 to 10 minute walk from the student union. But the student union is one of the busiest buildings because there's food, study spots, stuff like that in there.
And that's where the shooting started. So the building that you went to first, or that you were already in, you said was like an anthropology area. You were in English class, right? Can you understand or see why law enforcement moved you to this second building? Does that make sense to you?
Not really, because it's closer to the union. Like, I would expect us to move us further.
Okay.
But I don't know.
So let me ask our crime and safety expert, Ken Jefferson, what you just said. You may not be able to hear her.
I can't hear her at all.
The very first building she was in, she was then moved to a second building, which actually was closer to the scene. So can you see any logic in moving all these people to another building?
Well, because I'm not there, I don't know. I don't know what the layout is. I don't know what their rhyme or reason is for that. But, you know, the students just have to cooperate, not try to figure it out. They have to cooperate. There's a reason, there's a purpose why law enforcement is doing that. And they won't disclose that. They'll just say, you need to move over here in a very direct way. And what's very, very important, vitally important in a situation like this, when you're encountering law enforcement, it's not the time to ask questions. It's time to do whatever they say.
Yeah, and I'm trying to make sure she isn't speaking too loud. She's asked to be quiet on the phone. I think she's talking in a quiet voice. That's why sometimes I can't hear her, but that's the safety precaution,
Absolutely.
is to not make so much noise. This is a live picture right now from FSU, and the news, in case you just joined us, wasn't good. It was that 6 patients are now at Tallahassee Memorial. We thought it was 4. Now it's been named 6, and 1 is in critical condition. 5 are in serious condition. We don't know if that's a mix of teachers, professors, students. We were just told there are patients there. And then we were just speaking with Kyla. So let's get Kyla back to us now. And Kyla, we're having you describe a little bit more about the campus. Help us understand about the student union. We don't know if the shooting happened on the first floor or wherever it was, but are there a lot of doors to that building? Describe that building for us.
That building is a really large, modern building. It's very open concept. You can see there's a mezzanine. It's very open. So no matter where somebody would have came from, you have open access to a lot of people.
And then
There's not very many walls and stuff like that.
Okay, and so when that alert went out at 12:02, about what time did you start seeing and hearing the sirens and the police officers rush up toward that building?
We started hearing them before, but because we're in Tallahassee, it's nothing like new, so I just thought it was something passing.
Okay, but when the masses of law enforcement showed up, do you have any idea what time that was approximately?
That would have been like 12:40, 12:50 maybe.
Okay, and then what about your friends? Are they nearby you right now? Do they want to join us on the phone and tell us kind of how things are going for them?
No, all my friends are in different buildings. We're kind of spread across campus.
I'm sorry?
We're kind of spread across campus.
Oh, so you're not anywhere near anybody at the moment with you?
No.
Are you by yourself in a room?
No, there's other people.
Okay, I was just wondering if somebody who's nearby might want to join you on the phone and tell us a little bit about what their feelings are or their experience is. Do you have a friend next to you?
I can ask.
Okay, only if somebody wants to. So she's just saying that the student union is a large building it's modern with a lot of open access. And then she said when the sirens started, she first thought, oh, it's just a typical day, somebody's gotten in trouble or speeding or whatever, but then it became a massive effort by law enforcement. So right now she's seeing if there is anybody else there who would have wanted to share their experiences. And parents, if you are at home right now and just hearing about this, Ken Jefferson is explaining to us that the situation seems to be under control as best it can be, but it's not over.
Yeah, it's not over yet. It's not over until law enforcement gives the green light that everything goes back to normal. So for the parents that are home that are watching this or either on their way to Tallahassee, one or the other, if they're leaving Jacksonville to go to Tallahassee, slow down, take a deep breath. Law enforcement is there. They've got the area under control as it stands right now. They're searching, they're still searching, they're still vetting everybody that comes out to see if they had a part in it or if they know anything, if they saw anything, heard anything. All that information is vitally important. It's unfortunate that 6 people have been transported to the hospital with one being critical. That plays on a parent's mind as to whether or not it's their child. Or whatever. So that's the only anxiety part at this point that will be there for parents. But if they've heard from their child, that means that they're safe. That means that they're being controlled by law enforcement. They have the ability to make that phone call to let them know that they're safe. So that should ease their mind a little bit.
So how wide will this perimeter be? I know some people stay off campus in apartments or something like that. And then, so how much of a perimeter has to be locked down?
It'll initially be campus wide. Nobody on, nobody off. Nobody on, nobody off until law enforcement completes their job. So it could expand. It could expand to adjacent properties or whatever if witnesses lead them that way. If somebody saw someone running outside of a student, whatever, even if it was a student, they don't know if they were involved with it or not, law enforcement is going to follow up on every lead that they get, every piece of information that they get. They're going to follow up on it. They're going to do it expeditiously as well.
Okay, we just got an official statement from President Trump, so let's share that with you right now. The White House statement is the president has been briefed on the shooting at Florida State University, and the White House is actively monitoring the situation. That's from his press secretary. We also have some video coming in now we want to show you. That is the hospital. Is that right? Okay, here it is right here. This is brand new video. This has just been sent to us. It appears to show students being evacuated from a building on campus. I can't tell if their hands are up in the air, but Kyla told us a couple times that if she's evacuated for the 3rd time, they did tell her to keep her hands up in the air. And again, if you are just joining us, let's give you a recap right now. An active shooter was reported in the area of Florida State University's student union. Their alert went out at 12:02 today, and we have multiple sources telling ABC News that one suspect at least is in custody, but this is still considered an active situation. A spokesperson with Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare is telling us that they are treating 6 people right now. As I've been saying, I don't know if those are teachers or students or a mix. One of those patients is in critical condition. The rest of them, the other 5, in serious condition. And so we want to make sure that we chat again with Kyla. If you're just joining us as well, Kyla Grogan is a freshman at FSU. She was in one building, was sent to another building, and now she's hearing that she may be sent again. And Kyla, you were so nice to be able to ask your friends sitting around you if they wanted to speak, and they don't, and that's okay. We respect that. Are you all on the floor? Describe what are you against a wall, in a closet? What are you doing right now, please?
We're in like some graduate student's office that's like off the hallway.
And so do they have you sitting on chairs or against a wall hidden, or what precautions are you taking?
Well, the room is all brick, so there's no windows, and just everyone's just in here sitting on whatever.
Or on the ground, or on books, or chairs if they have them. How many people are in the room with you?
I would say like 15, 20.
Now, earlier you were saying that you'd seen probably 10 officers outside in your one hallway. Are they still walking around out there?
Where I am, I can't see the hallway anymore, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay. And you probably can hear me talk. I want to read a statement from Senator Ashley Moody releasing a statement she had on X. She said, "My office has already been in contact with school leadership about this tragic reporting on FSU's campus." She said, "I am praying for the safety of the students, the faculty, and all first responders involved." So there is a unification site for families and students to try to get together. Let's talk about that. According to FSU police, that site for families to gather is the Donald L. Tucker Civic Center. That's located on 505 West Pensacola Street in Tallahassee. Law enforcement is still working to clear rooms on the main campus, as we've been hearing. Kyla's saying that she may be moved again. Officers will use the safe word seminal. That's the safe word seminal to confirm it is safe to open the door. We have not gotten that word yet, though. People on campus are being told to continue to shelter in place until law enforcement contacts them. And we will definitely be staying on your side to follow the story. And Ken Jefferson, tell us a little bit more about that word safe word, that word seminal.
Well, as you saw from,
I mean, now
from
they
the
put it out in
photograph,
public, though. That's
well, suspect's not watching TV right now. If there's another suspect, he's
not.
on the run, so he's not sitting anywhere waiting to be caught. So yeah, the safe word, because we saw the photographs where students are barricaded, they've got the doors barricaded and whatever. It could be a situation where a suspect tries to get in one of the rooms and he doesn't know the safe word. So if he or she doesn't say the safe word, then they're not going to open the door. So all of the students know what's going on. So that's a tool that law enforcement uses to help them reassure that the students, we are law enforcement, we're here to render you safe, to evacuate you or whatever, or tell you that everything is over, is all right to go back to normal or whatever. So they use that safe word for all the students to have knowledge of.
so when they come and knock on the door or ask who's in there,
They'll say it's the police.
They're going to say it.
They'll say it's police. Do you know the safe word? And they'll say, yes, I know the safe word. And then they'll say the safe word.
Okay, so let's go back to Kyla. Kyla, did you hear what we were talking about just now? There's a safe word now that's been publicized by police there at FSU, and that word is seminal. So apparently if you hear that word, then you know it really is the police, and you can follow that direction, and you can feel comforted that it's not somebody else trying to do harm. Have you been coached
I'm pretty
before?
sure they sent that out in an FSU alert.
So you knew that for a while then. That's good to know. Okay. And that's something that you had been told about before as part of your training, that there would be a safe word coming from the campus?
No, they just sent it out in a text.
Okay, can you read me that full text? Do you still have it on your phone?
I can look.
We really appreciate Kyla's help. She has been with us now for quite a while. Hopefully we're doing something to keep her calm too. She said she feels safe now, so that's good, but I can't even imagine the fear of what this is happening to her.
I can read it out if you want.
Yes, please do. Thank you.
It says, continue to shelter in place. Law enforcement is actively clearing rooms on the main campus. Law and officers were used to safe word seminal to confirm it is safe to open the door. Continue to shelter until law enforcement contacts you.
Okay, that's good. And we did just get a notice from the Attorney General. There was supposed to be some sort of press conference with him today, but that has obviously been canceled. And he says, we are praying for the entire FSU community and also our first responders. So, Kyla, I'm going to ask Ken Jefferson another question while you wait with us so patiently, which we truly appreciate that. Who all in law enforcement is involved? How far out does this go? Are there United States people there as well, federal people? How big a presence is this going to be?
You get as many law enforcement officials there as you can. You've got your Florida State University police there. of course. You've got your Tallahassee Police Department there. You've got your Leon County Sheriff's Office there. You've got several adjacent counties that will send officers there. You've got reserve officers that they can call in. So they've got the resources, and then that's just boots on the ground. Then you can utilize your air unit, you can utilize your K9 unit, and then if push came to shove, if it extended for a long period of time, you can get your volunteers to come in to help with specific instructions as well.
What about K9 units trying to find, that they wouldn't know who the suspect, well, they've got one suspect supposedly in custody, but what would K9 units be doing at this point?
K9 units would do what they specialize in. You know, you got a suspect in custody, of course they'll put the dog around that individual first, because if he was in cahoots with someone else, the dog can pick up something from the other person, from the suspect that's in custody, and lead to the other person. But the K9 units are there. They're there scouring the area along with the other officers with the boots on the ground, and if they're needed to take someone into custody, they can utilize the K9 unit.
Now, will they fly drones, make noise?
They could.
Helicopters?
They could. The air unit is the helicopter, the helo unit that they use primarily for that, but they could use drones.
So when you look on social media, which I'm sure you all have at this point, I mean, it is just loaded with, one of the main messages is just praying for FSU, praying for FSU, praying that this will be over, praying that this one guy is the only one involved, and it may take them a while. I mean, this could go on for hours until they clear the scene.
It could.
Or am I wrong?
It could go on for hours, but with the manpower that they have, it's not going to go. It should not go throughout the night with this. And then, you know, the suspect may decide to talk. He may decide to give all the information that's needed. You can best believe that they've done, or they're currently doing everything as far as a background check on this individual that they have in custody. They know where he lives, they know who he associates with, they look at his social media, they look at any type of clues that led up to this. Was he being bullied? Was he disgruntled with a professor, or disgruntled with a student, or was he breaking up with his girlfriend? They'll find all that stuff out. They'll find out who his family members are. They'll talk to them. They're going to go through all the extremes. It's kind of like a duck on top of water. You see him gliding smoothly through the water, but underneath, his little feet are wagging along. So the police are the little feet that's wagging along, but on the surface, they're going to render the campus safe for all the students, and it'll be smooth sailing.
Now, for parents out there worried, and I keep going back to that because as a mom, that's how this whole thing strikes me, is how worried I would be if I had a student there. What's different about an active shooting on a college campus, and we've had many of those, versus, say, at a mall? Is there a difference?
Well, yeah, you've got more buildings, if you will, on a campus, and more places to hide. And various things that are going on. When you got a mall, you've got a lot of people that's involved in evacuation, and you have to vet through that a little more diligently, if you will, as you would as opposed to a college campus. College campus, you've got dorms, you've got educational buildings, you've got parking lots, you've got all these sort of things, whereas a mall is basically all segregated into one area that you have to check, versus a lot of buildings, apartments, places that you live, and parking lots.
Okay, we're going to quickly just run back to Kyla. She has been so great being on the phone. Are you still with us? I'm sorry to keep pestering you there, but we just want to make sure if anything has changed in your situation. Are you still in the same room? I don't know if she perhaps maybe took a break for just a moment, because she has been so great to be with us now.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, you are. Oh, gosh, bless your heart. Are you still in the same room, or have you heard any information about trying to evacuate that building and go someplace else?
They have us now in lines outside, waiting to go to the Civic Center.
So it's really noisy. Let me make sure I heard you. You are in a line outside, or you're headed there?
Yes. No, we are.
You are. So are your hands up? Have to be up in the air? But you're on the phone.
No, I have no idea.
Okay, can you tell us what you were told exactly, please?
All they said was it was going to take a long time because they're taking us to the Civic Center, and that's like a 30 minutes, 40 minutes from where I am.
Okay, I'm trying really hard to hear you, so please pardon my asking the same question twice. It's going to be a long time for you to walk somewhere, or 30 minutes? I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand that.
I'm assuming walk, just because of how many of us there are,
Okay.
but I don't know.
Okay, so we can't see you. You're our eyes for us. Kyla, so look around and just describe the scene. How many students you see, what they're doing, how many police officers there are. Just describe the scene for us.
So, like, straight in front of us is the student union. Now they have us in lines, like 4 or 5 lines. There's probably at least 1,000 people here. And now they're slowly moving the lines.
And they're doing what inside the lines?
Just moving them
They're
somewhere.
slowly moving the lines. Okay, so they've asked you to walk slowly, or just because there are some hundreds and hundreds of people out there?
No, they're asking us to walk slowly, and they have us divided.
Divided in groups of?
There's just, like, it's very, like, messy lines.
Okay, so you're in messy lines, hundreds of you right now, across the street from the student union where the shooting happened, right?
Yes.
Okay, and they are asking you to walk. Are there police officers on either side of you?
Yes. I can see right now at least 5. We're walking to what would be like the left of the student union, so off campus.
Okay, so you
But
are
I don't
now
know
walking
further
in.
than that.
You're walking very long lines. As far as you can see, there are people walking. These are students and teachers, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
And you're slowly being escorted away from the student union building, which is across the street.
Yes.
And you look like you're heading toward where?
I don't know, actually. I would assume they're walking us to the civic center because we're going in a general direction.
Okay, stay with me for a bit, Kyla. So she's outside now. You can hear me talking about this, Ken. They must feel assured that this is safe to be outside.
Yeah, if law enforcement is directing the students to a certain area, then they've rendered it safe. They've searched that area. They've vetted everybody that was in that area, if anyone was at the time, and they feel confident that it's safe for the students to be out there.
Okay, and so that doesn't necessarily mean that the situation is over, but in that immediate area.
It's not over until the police
Yeah.
leave. They're going to stay there, and they're going to section it off, section by section, to render it safe and safe for you to do whatever you need to do as what you would normally do. But they will release the police, all of the law enforcement officials, once the entire campus has been rendered safe.
Now, you mentioned earlier that some parents may already be in their cars driving to FSU. Do you recommend that, or would you advise against that?
If they've heard from their student, I wouldn't recommend them driving down there. But you know, you can't tell a parent what to do when it comes to their child. They're going to go anyway. They want to put eyes on them. They want to touch them. We want to hug them and reassure them that we love you, we're here for you, whatever. So no matter what the police says for us, don't come this way, they're going to still go. I would go. I would still go regardless of what was being said, because I want to see my child for myself. The parents that I pray for are the ones who have patients in the hospital right now, 5 serious injuries and 1 critical. So those are the parents that we have in our thoughts and prayers, as well as the first responders and the other students as well. But just prayer for the whole situation and all the people that's involved. It's a sad day that this sort of thing continues to happen in society for whatever reason. There's no good reason that you can place on just taking a weapon out and start firing at individuals or whatever. But we have to commend our first responders and our law enforcement, because they run to that kind of danger to save those from harm, any kind of harm whatsoever.
And so just one more time, Kyla, and we'll let you go, but if you could tell us what's going on where you are right now. If you just joined us, Kyla is a freshman at FSU, and we just want to make sure that she is still walking with police escort. Is that the case? Can you tell us anything new, Kyla?
Now they walked us about like 50 feet in front of us, and we're just standing in a group when officers are at the front, but we're not doing anything right now.
And would you say that the sentiment with the students around you, is there still a lot of high anxiety, or are they feeling more calm at this point?
I would say there's some high anxiety, just because a lot of people around me are people who were in the union when it happened.
And what have they said? Have you learned anything about what the shooter was, where he was at the student union? What did they tell you that happened?
I keep hearing people say that he looked just like a student. Someone said he had a pistol, but I'm not sure about that.
That's just something that's, I guess, like kind of in the rumor category at the moment. But what about where he was? Was he inside in the eating area or where?
Someone said he was just like he walked in on our first floor.
He walked in and what, I'm sorry?
He just walked in like a normal student.
Okay, and did they describe about any weapons that he might have had?
Someone said a pistol, but I'm not sure about that because I only heard one person say that.
Okay, and did they say that he ran out afterwards, or did he stay in there and police accosted him, or what happened?
Someone said they saw him running, but people don't know if it's the same person.
Okay, so right now none of this is official, but we do appreciate your talking with the other people who may have seen that. So I'm going to tell you something else at the moment. You can listen in on this, Kyla. We just talked to, okay, Kyla, we're going to let you go so that you can follow police instructions. And thank you again so much for sticking with us now for well over an hour to tell us what's going on. And we're glad to hear your voice, glad to know that you're okay. And we, the newsroom just talked to FSU police and the reunification site for families and students. We want to give that to you one more time. It's at the Donald L. Tucker Civic Center, 505 West Pensacola Street in Tallahassee. And there is a media staging area where media is being asked to gather, and that is at 200 West College Avenue. The advice is still the same, to shelter in place. Law enforcement is actively clearing rooms in the main campus. Law enforcement officers will use the safe word seminal, as we've been talking about, to confirm it is safe to open the door. Continue to shelter in place until law enforcement contacts you. And if you need any emergency assistance, there is a cell phone number that you can use, and that's FSU PD or 850-644-1234, or to make it much more simple, call 911. And Ken Jefferson has confirmed that that code word, that safe word seminal, is something that's used and used effectively, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's vital that they have something like that so that anybody concerned or anybody there won't become a victim. They'll know that that's a safe person that's coming to render aid or help.
So I know you couldn't hear Kyla right now, and she was very smart to make it clear that she's just hearing students talk. So this is only like on the rumor, he said this, she said this, or whatever. But she's with students right now who were there, they said, during the shooting at the student union. And we don't know if this is true, so this is not official, but this is what's happening. This is what students are talking about, that somebody that looked like a student walked in, maybe had a pistol, started shooting, and that's kind of all she knows. And I can't underline that enough. We don't know if that's the case.
We'll have to wait for an official statement from law enforcement to really know what's going on, unless there was a direct eyewitness and 2 or 3 others that can confirm what that witness is saying for it to be official. But we'll have to wait to see exactly what it is, because as I said earlier, they're doing the background on this person that they have in custody right now, and they can sometimes make a determination as to what led up to this. You know, is there a manifest? Is there something that he put out that he was going to do, or he was disgruntled with the person, or whatever? But the main thing right now is to render the campus safe, make sure all the students are safe, make sure everybody involved with the shooting is in custody. Once that's done, then they'll start deciphering exactly what and how it happened.
And just bless everybody's hearts hanging on with this. We just cannot wait to hear that all clear. We just hope that comes so soon. We do now have a statement, actually a verbal statement from President Donald Trump. He spoke on the shooting on FSU's campus during a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister of Italy, calling the shooting a shame. So let's take a listen to President Trump just a short time ago.
And I've been briefed on the Florida State University, Tallahassee active shooting. I guess it's an active shooter. Fully briefed as to where we are right now. It's a shame. It's a horrible thing. Horrible that things like this take place. And we'll have more to say about it later.
So that was President Trump just now. He was there with the Prime Minister, the leader of Italy. And I do want to point out that as of right now, we have not had any confirmation that anybody has lost a life. But we do know that there are 6 patients, 1 in critical condition at Tallahassee Memorial. They've been transported, 5 in serious. And, you know, we use those words all the time, Ken. So let's just kind of clarify what that means as far as a medical definition of serious condition. So I will share that now. A patient in serious condition is very ill or injured. That would be logical, right? Vital signs may be unstable and not within normal limits. There is cause for concern, but the person is not necessarily at immediate risk of death. the outlook may depend on how the situation develops. So right now, as I'm reading this, you can see some of the military, or rather the police officers, on a roof. Ken, tell us what you're seeing. This is not live, but this was earlier.
They're searching the roof. They're looking for weapons. They're looking for people or person. Like I said, they're going to scour this entire campus, and all of the police that are there will be easily recognizable for the safety of themselves as well as the students to know that that is a law enforcement official. They may not be in a uniform, but as you can see on some of the footage, they'll have vests on that clearly says police on it. So that identifies them as a law enforcement official. You won't see anybody, for the most part, that's trying to do law enforcement work without that vest on or without something identifying them as a police officer, be it a badge around their neck, or a vest or a uniform.
When this first started, I saw one report from Tallahassee saying that U.S. Marshals were almost immediately on campus. Why would that be?
Well, they're helping. It's a law enforcement agency that that's coming to the fight. They're coming to help out the local law enforcement. So you got local, state, and now federal law enforcement officials. When a situation like this happens and you've got a very large area such as a college campus like Florida State University, you need all the help you can get. So you don't turn anybody down. You get all the help you can get to render that campus safe.
And we are talking about some of the patients who are taken to the hospital. What you're seeing right now as I'm speaking, this is live video. I'm looking at this as a layman, seeing people walk fairly calmly, and we are hearing Kyla explain that there are hundreds of students now across the street from the Student Union building who are being escorted by police. She's not sure where, but they've been asked to walk slowly. At first, she said their hands were up over their heads, but since she's on the phone with me, I wasn't sure exactly if that was still the command or not, but taken calmly. But she did point out that the anxiety is still high there among the students she's
Well,
staying
of course it would be.
Yeah.
And if they're not being told to show the surrender status with their hands up in the air, that means that they've been cleared by law enforcement. If they're moving them out of a building or a place where they segregated them, then there's no threat of them being one of the suspects, so they don't have to continue to walk with their hands up, because that's not the initial evacuation. On the initial evacuation, when you're taking people out of a building, you want to have them come out with their hands up. In this case, the students as well as the teachers and professors come out with your hands up. Once you segregate them, you render them safe, and if you have to move them again, you don't have to continue to throw your hands up. Of course, the anxiety is going to be high because it could be one of their friends that was injured or shot, and they're thinking that it could have been me or whatever. So the anxiety is going to be high, but it will not help anybody if they were to be running all over the place, because police aren't going to allow that to happen. Running all over the place, frantically trying to get off the campus or whatever. Police aren't going to let that happen either. They're going to, in the midst of the chaos, they're going to, the law enforcement officers are going to remain calm in an effort to make sure that the students remain calm and let them know that they have it under control. Just follow their directions.
And then we were talking about the patients taken to Tallahassee Memorial, and we were trying to define medically what serious and critical condition is, because we understand that one patient, we don't know if it's a student or a professor or whatever, is in critical condition. And we were pointing out that we hear those news terms all the time. Well, there's a car accident, somebody's in critical condition, but just to give you the medical definition of it, a patient is in critical condition, and this is the most severe stage, as you probably know. Vital signs are unstable, often not within normal limits. The individual may be unconscious, and the prognosis is uncertain, so of course that's very scary in this situation. The condition means there is an imminent threat to life. So I'm sure whoever this person is in the hospital, with nurses and doctors surrounding them and family maybe at this point, lots of prayers going out to this one particular person who's in critical condition from this active shooter. And we talked about whether parents will rush to campus. And I know that's impossible to tell parents not to do that. I remember back when there was a shooting at Episcopal here, and my son went to school there. And what I learned from that, so I don't know if this helps parents or not, but I just ran out of the newsroom, you know, and before I was on the bridge, on the Hart Bridge. It was one of the scariest moments of my life, and I was calling my son, and what I learned was that sometimes the cell phone batteries die. Fortunately, he answered the phone, and he said, Mom, he was whispering, because they're told, and even in this situation at FSU, they've been told to speak quietly. He said, Mom, I'm in the library, I'm okay. I can feel it now in my heart. And he said, I have 1% battery on my phone. Now, I realize that people can share phones back and forth, but nobody knows this is going to happen.
Sure.
And at that point, I was just grateful he had that 1% battery, so I knew my son was alive. But those things can happen that students don't know when an active shooter could pop up.
Well, you know, as a parent, of course, the first thing you want to do is go where the incident happened and see your child. Make sure your child is safe. If you can't reach them via phone or whatever, just think back when we didn't have cell phones, and if something like this was to happen, we had to wait and wait and wait until we got the all clear by police to see if our loved ones were involved in this situation. But now we've got technology where you can contact them via text or a voice and talk with them. But again, I'll emphasize, the police can say, parents, don't come over here to Tallahassee to try to check on your child. They're going to come anyway. I would come. I would go. I would go because, again, I would want to see my child. I want to put my hands on them whenever that was possible, but to make sure that they're safe. It's nothing like you, the parent, making sure that your child is safe, regardless of what anybody else says, and unless you talk to them on the telephone, you can hear that they're safe. And they're told to whisper in the event that there's another suspect that's not in custody that's looking for other people to hurt or to harm. So they tell them to whisper and try to keep it down low, just in case that person is nearby and they can hear them and possibly come in where they are and do harm to them.
And so please know, I'm not asking you to try to guess at something that we don't know yet. But in a close situation in the student union, to be able to shoot at least six people right away, does that tell us anything about the weapons, or does it not? That might not be a fair question.
Well, because it's unofficial and we don't know what kind of weapon he had, to shoot six people, you can shoot them with a revolver, you can shoot them with a semi-automatic weapon in a rapid fire. You know, he's not aiming, he's shooting. He may have been aiming at one particular person if he had a grudge against or whatever situation, or he just may have been shooting in a crowd. Don't know at this point, but it can be done with a semi-automatic weapon. And the difference between a semi-automatic weapon and a revolver is that the revolver is not rapid fire, but you can shoot it. The semi-automatic weapon, as soon as you pull the trigger, the bullet goes out and the shell goes that way, and it's rapid, back to back. That's why it's called a semi-automatic. Whereas the revolver, it has to revolve around, shoot, revolve around, shoot. Semi-automatic weapon just pop, 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 pop.
Well, so many questions I'm sure are on your minds as you're listening to us as well. Was there not a metal detector? Was there not a clear bag policy? Was there a security guard there, maybe somebody who jumped on him and took him down and prevented him from shooting anybody else? And we don't know. Those are all the questions that are some of the many questions that are going to have to be answered with this.
Yeah, they'll answer those questions later on. And again, like I said, the objective right now is to render the campus safe, make sure all the students and the faculty and everybody is safe. That's what they're concentrating on, even before they issue a statement as to those details. You know, those details can wait until they render it safe.
And we're staying on the air here because we want to make sure that we stay with the situation until we can say the all clear. So if you have questions, here is the FSU information line that you can try to call, 850-644-4636. And Ken, I'm thinking that one advantage here, if I can say something positive, is it's daylight. And there are many hours still left of daylight. Doesn't that help?
It does help. It does help. And you know, typically when you look back on these type of things, they typically happen during school hours in the daytime. So that's a big help to law enforcement. They don't have to bring in extra resources to try to light up areas and whatever. And the safety factor is very positive for law enforcement during the daytime. So
we talk so many times about these lone gunmen. Would it surprise you if there were another gunman involved, or is it?
It would.
Yeah, but more likely that they've got the guy, and that might be over. We hope.
Well,
maybe.
Yeah, it's usually one person. That's not to say it can't be more, but it's usually one person in situations like this, and there's a plethora of reasons as to what they'll say as to why they did this sort of act, or whatever. But even though they have one in custody, they're going to still search to make sure that he is a lone gunman and there isn't anybody else involved.
We look back at the most recent school shootings, there have been lone gunmen. That wasn't true, though, in Colorado years ago when all this kind of started. There were a couple of them then. We do have a state representative, Angie Nixon, has sent us a statement. A lot of people now speaking out and sending out their official thoughts. So from State Representative Angie Nixon, she is saying, everyone be safe in Tallahassee right now. My thoughts and prayers are with the families of the victims that have been injured during the shooting at FSU. And so I must say that I've been saying for the people who've been injured and taken to the hospital, I've said maybe they're teachers, maybe they're students. They might be first responders for all we know, or bystanders. We hope that everybody is safe in the first responder unit, but we don't know which the personalities or the exact roles that these patients have who've been taken to the hospital. But I keep looking for bright spots. We haven't heard of anybody else shot in the last 30, 45 minutes. They haven't announced any other or confirmed any other shooting victims. So maybe that's good, Ken?
We have to be patient.
We have to be patient. I know. I'm struggling to find something positive
here. We have to
here.
be patient. We have to address what we see, what we know to be factual at this time, right now.
These are Associated Press images that we're showing you. Sometimes pictures are worth 1,000 words, and they show so much emotion of what's going on. And right now, I think the theme is I'm calling mom, I'm calling grandma, I'm calling my sister, I'm calling my brother. I'm okay, I'm alive, I'm all right. And can you not even imagine when somebody picks up the phone, you don't know if it's going to be
good news or bad news.
A hospital, yes, or a minister, or your loved one. And so thank goodness that we are seeing some positive pictures here of people sitting. Now they're sitting on campus away from the shooting area. Although Kyla said that when they were walking around here, she was pretty close. She was still across the street from the student union.
Well, they've got a person in custody and they've cleared the student union, so they were safe. They're across the street, they're safe. Trust me, if the shooting happened, wherever the shooting happened, that's where the police were first to render it safe. So if they're across the street from where it happened, then they're safe.
Well, I mean, considering this was at 12:02, the alert went out. We don't know exactly when the shots were fired, but close to that time. That's lunchtime. And so a lot of students have crazy schedules, but that would have been a crowded time. And then Kyla pointed out people were eating, they were visiting and talking, and so that if you were going to be vicious about things, to pick a time when the student union was crowded, that might be.
Yeah, I mean, or he picked the person that he wanted to shoot and they happened to be in the student union. You know, all speculative right now. We don't know. And then we don't know what the population in the student union was because it's a holiday weekend. Some kids who would have normally possibly been there may have been gone home for Easter for the weekend or whatever. So, but it's in the middle of the day where, you know, Florida State University campus is always crowded. I was there a couple of months ago for an event that had nothing to do with Florida State, but riding through the campus. I mean, there are kids everywhere. I mean, everywhere you turn, everywhere you look, there's always kids there. So it probably was, and I'm guessing, I don't know this, it may have been a targeted attack. The person wanted to shoot one person in particular and ended up shooting more. Because, you know, when a gun is fired, it's not like what happens on television. A person just drops down. The gun is fired, that bullet continues to travel. So if somebody's standing behind the person who's shot, they're going to get shot too. That bullet's going to go through them as well. It could ricochet and hit somebody. All kind of things can happen. That doesn't happen on television shows. I mean, that happens on television shows. I mean, sorry, that doesn't happen on television shows, but in real life, that's actually what happened. Did he fire the gun at 6 different people, or were they just casualties of what he was a person that he was shooting at?
Very disturbing thought, but yeah, thank you, Ken. And we want to give this phone number out again because parents ask us, well, what do I do? If I'm going, where do I find my loved one? Where do I meet? And so here it is right now. You'll see it on your screen. According to FSU Police now, this is the Unification site for families and students. It's the Donald L. Tucker Civic Center, which is on 505 West Pensacola Street in Tallahassee. So as we're saying, law enforcement is still working to clear rooms on the main campus, and they are using a safe word. This is officers. Officially, the safe word is seminal. So if somebody asks you about that, a student or a loved one, it is seminal, and that means what, Ken?
It means that that's law enforcement is safe to open up.
So if they're out there and they say seminal, you know you can open the door just a little bit and let them come in or let them talk to you. And they are still supposed to shelter in place, though, until law enforcement is contacting them. And we were talking as well about, we're of course worried about people's lives and the injuries right now, people in 1 in critical, 5 in serious condition. But as you know, what worries me as well is the after effects of this. After the shooting here in Jacksonville at the high school years ago, some of the students had a lot of stress, even PTSD, after going through that. And so the ramifications of today can go on for a long time. This is not just a scary situation for a day or a weekend.
Sure. I mean, when you go through a traumatic event such as this, you're going to need counseling. You're going to need to talk to someone and have some professional counseling provided for you, because this is a traumatic event that's going to follow you for the rest of your life, and you've got to know how to cope with it, how to deal with it, how to talk to your future children about your experience with this. So yeah, this sort of thing reaches out far beyond what we see on the surface.
And we want to be able to acknowledge too, it is Easter weekend. My niece doesn't go to FSU, but to a different state university. She is already on her way home, so she wouldn't have been affected by this. But you're right, some of the students may have already left campus to come home for the Easter holiday. And my producer Mike is just telling me that there is a news conference scheduled for 4 p.m. So we will have much more information. They won't know everything, as you know, but it's going to give us a lot more information. Let's just hope and pray they're going to say it's the all clear.
Yeah.
At 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
even before then.
And law enforcement is working hard to do that. That's their objective. They're working very hard to do that.
I know they won't do that too soon, though, of course.
No.
Yeah. But the question, I guess, too, is if someone else is still out there, wouldn't we have heard of that by now, or no? Not really.
If they found them, we would have heard about it. If they're still searching.
I just think like the students might have, so I saw 2 people or something like that.
Well, they won't disclose all of that because they don't want to compromise anything. So they'll follow up on that lead, and if it turns out to be something, then they'll talk about it. But while they're trying to look for it, they won't.
And I was talking about Kyla when she was talking about all the other students who were standing there who'd been through it all. I mean, not once did it wasn't thorough, and it wasn't official, but not once did somebody say, I saw a couple of people. So I'm just, again, trying to be optimistic that maybe this is getting contained as fast as possible. So that 4 o'clock news conference is going to be really important for us to find out.
Sure, it'll provide an update on everything, and may even give specifics as to what happened, as to the fact that he walked in, pulled out a gun, whatever. They should provide some type of specifics that they know to be true at that particular time, or they may just give an update that the campus has been cleared, there's no danger to anyone. We believe that there's only one suspect that's involved with this. We have him in custody. So we'll see what they say at 4 o'clock.
And we saw earlier, this was not a live picture, but we saw earlier a law enforcement officer on the roof. And so how expansive do you think that had become?
Well, that's a part of their job when you have an active shooter, to search every crevice, every possible way that a crime can occur. You know, was he on the roof? Did he stash some weapons there? Was his plan was to shoot in the student union, to run on the roof somewhere, and while they're all scrambling, start shooting at other people, whatever. So you have to cover every single base, and that's what law enforcement is doing. When you see them on the roofs like that, that's what they're doing. They're looking for evidence. Yeah,
and I haven't been in that. Have you been in the student union at FSU?
No.
She was describing it as a big modern building with a lot of open area, so it would be hard just to spot somebody, I think, leaving with the masses of people around it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you got a large crowd of people, and when the weapons start to fire, they're all going to scatter like roaches do when the light comes on, and it's chaotic. So unless you actually saw the person with the weapon, shooting the weapon, when they start spreading out like that, it's kind of hard to determine who the suspect is.
So right now we're seeing Macomb Street and Tennessee Street, and I honestly don't know where that is in relationship to the student union building. Do you, Ken?
I don't.
Okay, so but if you looked at that right now, you'd go, oh look, it's just a normal afternoon on a Thursday at FSU's campus. There are a couple of police officers, but it doesn't look threatening. But that's nothing at all like what we saw earlier. And producers, if we could show some of those scenes from early on, a couple of hours ago, even the scene or the picture of the students who had blocked a doorway with desks and boxes and so forth, that is a great example of the anxiety that they felt and the precautions that they took. But right there, it looks like it's fairly common. We just don't know how far away that live picture is from the student union.
Correct, and they've got that one street blocked. As you can see, the cluster of cars in the background after you see the 2 cars that's blocking the street. But they've got traffic going. You see pedestrian traffic walking. So they're working hard to try to render everything safe.
Okay, and our producer Mike just told me that we have a mom on the phone, and Ken, you're right. She's on her way right now to FSU.
You can't stop them.
She's from Baker County. And so Casey Stevenson, you have a student at FSU. Casey, can you hear me? Are you driving right now?
I am. I'm on my way there now.
Okay, so please be careful, of course, but you have made contact with your child at FSU?
Yes, ma'am. My daughter. She texted me to let me know
Okay,
she's okay.
and what is, okay, and your daughter's name is
Chloe.
Chloe?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I need to interrupt you. I wanted to make sure that Chloe was okay, so I can break this news to you now and everybody else that we have had confirmation now that one person has been killed. So we know there is the first death reported now from this active shooter situation at FSU that happened about noon today. But Casey, you're on the phone with us right now, and we appreciate that. You're the mom. I'm sure your stomach is in knots. Tell me what you found out from your daughter as you're driving.
She texted me that she was okay, that a kid in her class had heard the initial gunshot, and he ran back into the class and told him to call 911. And the professor told them all to just get down on the ground. They turned off the light and were as quiet as they could be.
And tell me what building she was in.
She was, I don't know the exact name of the building, but it was right next to the student union.
Okay, so she was in class at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so tell me about what it was like to get her on the phone, how your heart was pounding a million miles a minute, I'm sure. What was it like to hear her voice?
I have not heard her voice yet. They moved her to another building, and she was in there for about 30 minutes, and they just got her out of that classroom, and they're moving her off campus.
So right now they're moving her off campus. So how do you know she's okay? I'm glad she is.
She's been texting me.
She's been texting you. Okay, so let me ask you that then. When the very first word came across your phone, those little bubbles that pop up that we all look for, like, oh, there's somebody there. I know that feeling. There's somebody there. Mm-hmm. And then it came to be Chloe.
Yes, ma'am.
What were
she
you
texted
feeling?
and said that she loved me, her dad, and her sister.
She loved you, and she loved your dad, or her dad and her sister. Oh my gosh.
Yes, ma'am.
I bet you took a screenshot of that and you're going to save it forever.
It was not a text you usually want to get like that.
No, but thank goodness it was good news. Okay, so what else did she tell you?
She heard the initial gunshot, and then at that point they all just dropped to the ground, and then she heard police yelling, and then helicopters every now and then.
Okay, so she could hear the gunshots. She was close enough then to hear the gunshots.
Yes, ma'am.
And right away, police were yelling, so there were police on the scene at the moment? Or
it was after she was in the class for a while.
After a while, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then help me understand about her move to another building. How did that go about?
They started evacuating each building floor by floor. So from what I understand, they moved her from that building into a building that was further away.
Okay, and where are you? Are you headed to that Reunification site to find her, or where are you going to go?
I'm going to go to the school, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and when you get on campus, what are you planning to do?
I'm going to call her, see if I can get her on the phone.
Okay, and you've been trying to get her on the phone and you can't reach her yet, besides the text?
She's just trying to make her way off of campus. We haven't tried to call at first. I didn't want to call in case I alerted the person to where anybody was.
Okay, so you were being cautious just in case her phone would ring and that would alert the active shooter just in case he was near her, but I hope apparently he wasn't, so that was a good thing. Yeah, and so this is a nightmare for parents all the time. We always worry about this constantly. And for this to happen where your daughter goes to school, I'm sure, are you still trying to process it, I would imagine?
Yes, I am. I'm still a ball of nerves, and I don't think I'm going to feel better until I actually see her.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about your daughter, what year she is, what she's studying.
She actually graduates May 2nd. She's a senior, and she's her major is environmental sciences.
I'm sorry, environmental sciences?
Yes, ma'am.
So what does she want to do?
She hasn't decided yet.
She's still thinking about it. Okay, very good. Did she talk about the mental status or the emotional status of her friends that are around?
Because it was a scary situation, something she doesn't want to do again.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. And so where are you right now on the road? How close are you to the campus?
I'm probably about 30 minutes away now.
30 minutes away. I know you're getting close. All right. Stay focused on the road. Describe for me, have you been to the student union yourself as a parent? Can you tell us about what that all looks like and the other buildings around it, how close they are?
I haven't been to the actual student union, but some of the buildings are spaced out, some are closer together.
Okay. And then are there bushes and shrubs around the student union or just kind of an open grassy area? What's it look like around the student union?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Like I said, I haven't been to the student union.
Have you thought about what you're going to say to her the first time or just grab her and hug her?
I'm just going to hug her.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. And so have you notified everybody in your family now that she's all right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I don't know if they told you or not, but there's a word that is being used by police. Did she tell you that? It's called seminal, which means that it's safe, that there are police officers officially there to help you.
No, I haven't heard that.
Okay, so that's a good word today. All right.
Okay.
Well, tell me, is there anything else that you want to say to other parents and families out there?
I'm praying for them.
Yeah, and especially now that we've learned that one person has died. I don't
Yes,
know
ma'am.
if it's a student or whoever, but lots of prayers and thoughts and everything goes out to those families. That's going to be so difficult to deal with, really, really tough. All right, well, Ms. Stevenson, we'll stick with you on the phone for just a little bit here. I can't wait to find out how it is for you to actually see Chloe, and I hope I'm saying her name correctly. I couldn't hear you exactly.
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Stevenson. Be safe now and have a very happy reunion with your daughter best that you can. All right?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Well, she was saying that her daughter actually heard gunshots and then a while later heard police yelling and sirens. So
Yeah.
you're right. She's on her way. She's 30 minutes away from the campus.
You can't stop parents from going, but here's the thing: when she gets to the campus, they're only going to allow her to go to the Reunification area. She won't be able to stroll on the campus and just walk around looking for Chloe. So she has to remember just follow the directions of law enforcement. She's gotten a text from her daughter. She knows that she's safe, and just wait for the reunion to happen.
I think she was very smart in making sure she didn't actually call her. She was worried that if just in
Well,
case.
she could have had the phone on silent, but they don't think about that at the time, But she's been in contact with her, so that kind of eases her mind a little bit. It slows the anxiety down a little bit while she's traveling there, so she can drive safely or whatever. But the thing of it is, you don't want to get in a confrontation with law enforcement trying to find your child on campus. You want to do whatever they say, because if it's roped off, you're not going to get in, or if there's an authoritative figure there standing there, you're not going to get past them. So,
What does it say to you that there's this press conference now in about an hour and 10 minutes roughly? It doesn't necessarily mean that the situation is all safe. They would have a press conference if it's still not a clear situation, or does it mean they do have a clear?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, the search and the vetting can still be going on, but they'll hold a news conference if they've got the majority of it done, just to update everybody on it because of that anxiety. Everybody's that's involved or have someone involved, they've got some sort of anxiety going on, and they want to know. So what they're doing is they're trying to just give you something versus just pictures of what we're seeing now. Give you something to go on and let them know that they're probably, I'm guessing, they'll probably say something to the fact that we believe this is a lone shooter. We believe that we have the situation under control. However, law enforcement is still vetting buildings and searching the areas just to make sure. They may give information on the suspect. If it's not too soon, that may come later on this afternoon. They're going to stress that the safety of the students and the faculty is of the utmost importance to them. That's why all they're concentrating on right now is rendering everything safe, which is the proper thing to do.
And we just got an official word from FSU that they are saying to students, please still shelter in place.
Yeah.
They want everybody to do that unless law enforcement contacts you with a safe word.
Till they give you the all clear.
So
just
that is
continue to do that.
So the all clear has not happened yet at FSU. We do know that 6 patients were taken to Tallahassee Memorial, but we have been just alerted that 1 person has died. So now this is a fatal active shooter situation. And so that is just the news we didn't want to hear, but it has happened. So I don't know if that was the critical patient or not. That would be maybe logical, but I'm hoping that one of the 5 people in serious condition will pull through. And so now we await for information from officials at 4 o'clock. That's a whole nother hour and 10 minutes to wait this out at least. And hopefully they can get this situation resolved. This is a live picture here, and this is something, if anybody's listening upstairs and you know this campus better, or maybe you went to FSU, how close is this scene here live to the student union? Does anybody know that? I'm not sure about that, but it looks like traffic is going normally. It must be close to campus, right?
Yeah, Tennessee Street is close to the camp. Well, the campus is so big, you got several streets, but Tennessee Street is one of the main streets where Florida State is. My wife is an alumnus of Florida State University, her and her 2 brothers, and all I used to hear about was Tennessee Street, so yeah, that's close to the campus.
All right, we are now going to go to a student from Jacksonville. His name is Nicholas Damone, and we're going to hopefully do a Zoom talk with him. Nicholas, you're okay. That's so good. Thank you so much. Tell me a little bit about where you were when this all happened. Tell me everything that you want to share.
Yeah, so I had class at around, I got out at about 11 o'clock, so I walked past that student union every day pretty much. So I was able to get home safely before I got an FSU alert on my phone basically saying there was an active threat on campus, thankfully.
And so you were out of that area, out of the student union area, a good little less than an hour than this happened, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So that was, I'm sure, a very harrowing close call for you, right? Would you
Yeah,
have been
no,
in the
it
student
was.
union at that time or no?
No, I walked right past it though on my way home from class though. So thankfully I wasn't there.
Okay, and so what's happened since then for you?
So yeah, basically I'm just across the street right from campus in my dorm, police cars by probably the hundreds honestly coming by our apartment. We just keep getting alerts through our phones, basically telling us to stay sheltered. And yeah, we're just sitting it out, staying undercover and staying safe.
And what are you doing exactly to stay safe? I don't see a window by you, so that's good. Hopefully you're not sitting near a window.
No, we are just sitting here. I was working on some homework previously, but just waiting it out. Hopefully getting a clear message here soon by the university out on our message system telling us that things are still safe, but I hear it's still a very ongoing situation.
What is the last word you got officially on that system from FSU?
I can check here.
And if you don't mind telling us what time that came in.
That came out at 2:46. They stated, continue to shelter in place. Law enforcement is actively clearing rooms on the main campus. Law enforcement officers will use the safe word Seminole to confirm it is safe to open the door. Continue to shelter in place until law enforcement contacts you.
So where were you then when the shooting happened? How far away from the student union?
My building is less than half a mile away from the student union.
And what was the reaction of everybody around you at that point?
Honestly, just sad. It's awful. It's terrible. It happens way too often. Obviously, like I'm here to get an education, hang with my friends, and enjoy school, and just something like this happening so close. You hear about it all the time on the news, but it happening less than a mile away, like I said, it's very sad. Yeah, most of us were just sad, a little bit angry. I don't know how someone could do something like this.
And those are powerful words. They're basic words, sad and angry, but they say a lot. So we really do appreciate your sharing those feelings with us, Nicholas. And so tell us about this student union building. For those of us who have not been on campus, describe what this building is like.
Yeah, so the student union it's a huge building. They've got study offices, they've got restaurants, they have a bowling alley downstairs. It's just a big place for students to go throughout the day, take a break, get something to eat for lunch, or study.
And we don't know where this shooting happened. Does it normally have security guards at the building whenever you're in it?
I'm not aware of that, but I do know that FSU PD is very active on campus throughout the day. I see them every single day on campus, so hopefully they were quick in response.
So since this person had a gun, apparently, are there no metal detectors on those doors for the student union?
Not that I know of. No, ma'am.
And how many doors in and out are there, would you say?
A rough estimate, I'd say probably three to four different entrances.
Okay. And then when somebody comes out, are they in a big wide open area where they can be easily seen? Or is there vegetation, trees and bushes and so forth where you could hide?
So on like the south side, on the opposite of Tennessee Street, there's called Legacy Walk. It's pretty shaded trees. But around the other three quadrants of the student union is pretty wide open.
So were you happy with the way you were alerted by FSU? Did they do everything you think that they could have to keep you all safe?
Yeah, I mean, the messaging system is huge. We get those anytime there's some sort of safety threat on campus, whether that be weather or something like this. So yeah, their response was very good.
So tell me who loves you and who got word that you're okay. I'm sure, did you text them or call them or tell me about that first contact, like I'm alive, I'm okay?
Yes, obviously my parents, my mom and my dad, they were happy. Basically just talking about the situation and why stuff like this goes on. It's just sad. It's just the biggest thing I have to say. It's terrible. I mean, these people that do these types of things, they probably don't no community ties, like no church, broken homes. They're just disconnected from the world, and they have no value for human life. So it's sad. It's really sad.
It's just difficult to even find words to describe how awful this whole thing is. And we see it all around the country, and then when it comes this close. And you grew up in Jacksonville, is that right? Did you go to high school here?
Yes, ma'am. I went to Wilson High School.
Wilson, okay. And without telling where your mom and dad live or anything like that, what type of work did they do?
They are law enforcement officials for Jacksonville Sheriff's Office.
Oh, okay. So you grew up with lots of instruction then, so you knew exactly how to handle this situation then?
Yes, man. Just tell me to always stay aware and stay on the tip of my toes. It's crazy people in this world.
Yeah, there are. Did you ever have to take precautions before? Did you guys go through training at FSU for active shooter training?
No, there's no sort of active shooter training, mostly just high school. I mean, we had code red drills and stuff all the time, so.
So what'd you learn from the code red drills, or at least active shooter training at Wilson?
For the most part, just they would have tape away from the door, basically saying, go to this corner if something ever happens. Obviously, stay quiet, get off your phones, turn the lights off. And then obviously, from my parents' background, they've always told me to fight or flight. I mean, if you have the chance to run, run. But if you don't have the chance to run, obviously there's situations where you got to fight.
And then what were the words that you told your mom or your dad? Did you talk to both at the same time, and relive that for us?
Just basically telling them I love them, they love me, they're glad I'm safe. It's obviously a scary situation, but it's just good reassuring, letting them know that I'm okay. I'm sure my mom's heart was beating out of her chest when she heard about it, but.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. Well, I mean, we don't know yet anything about this particular suspect, and we don't know if there are more of them. I'm sure the rumors are flying on campus. We're just going to have to wait for an hour and 2.5 minutes to find out some more information. But we are very, very glad that you're okay, and that's the understatement of the year, I'm sure. But good luck with the rest of your studies, and thank you so much for taking a breath and being on camera with us right now. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. And we want to tell you, too, the University of North Florida president, Dr. Moaz Liman, has sent this message saying, our hearts have gone out now to the Florida State University community as they navigate the tragic events at their student union today. Many of us have family and friends and colleagues who attend or work at FSU, and he goes on to say, I urge you to offer your support and check on them during this difficult time. He says, I reached out to FSU president to assure him that we are here to help the FSU community in any way we can. Again, this is coming from the president of UNF in Jacksonville. UNF counseling services are available for anyone who needs assistance. Student resources are available through the Dean of Student Offices Care Services, and additional resources for faculty and staff are available through UNF's Employee Assistance Program. So they're offering help in great detail there from UNF over to FSU. And that's important to talk about. You and I know that this is not going to be the end of it when everybody's safe and sound, because mentally you relive this stuff forever.
Yeah, and you know, students, they'll be kind of apprehensive when they go back to their classes and what have you, but they'll be more alert. They'll be looking around, they'll be looking for signs of persons who may be depressed or expressing themselves through social media, who they may feel threatening, and that's always something that they need to tell somebody about. If they feel that a person has been pouring their heart out to them, they're depressed, they're maybe possibly suicidal or whatever, bring that to the attention of someone in authority so that they can look into it. A lot of times that goes unnoticed until it's too late.
You know, I've noticed something that these college kids have said, and Nicholas told us he was from Wolfson, so he's from Jacksonville. You couldn't hear him, but his family's in law enforcement. I didn't want him to be too specific, but so he's got the background. But both the students we've talked to today said they got their training in high school.
Yeah, you know, part of the training, and I used to do some of that training, you have three options: run, hide, or fight. Those are your three options. And you try to run, get away from the noise. Don't run to the noise, go away from the noise, the gunshots and whatever. And if you can, hide somewhere in a closet, in a room, barricade yourself in or whatever. But if you come face to face with it and you have no other choice, you fight. You fight your way, you fight for your life, you fight your way out of that situation if at all possible.
All right, thank you. We're going to keep talking to you. This is Ken Jefferson. I think you know him well. How many years of law enforcement experience?
24.
24. So he is our crime and safety analyst, and he's following this all along for us. And so we have something else to share with you now. We're hearing from a junior at FSU who was working on homework when he was alerted about this shooting by the FSU campus. So here's what he had to say.
Just sitting down doing my work, and the alarm goes off. And first, you're thinking it's just a fire alarm. It sounds a little different though. And I'm just hearing active shooter, and you kind of just like panic a little bit in the moment. You're just like, damn, is that real? Like, take a little bit to process it, then you get to your safe area. I went to a little cubby space, and then you just look down at your phone, look at the news, and like start to process it. Like, damn, some people just got shot a couple feet away from me.
Yeah, so that was a close call for him, and we talked to, just like Nicholas just now was saying, that he was already gone from the situation by maybe about an hour, but if it had been an hour later, he would walk right by the student union. And then the other young woman we talked to, Kyla, she was right across the street. And at first when she heard sirens, she thought, oh, well, you know, it's just a siren. But then, like he said, you have to process it, and then it would hit you like this really is an active situation,
right.
An active shooter.
Right, right. And you know, the students so far that you've taught with acted appropriately. You know, they got out of the way, or they hid, or whatever. And it takes time, you know, because you hear sirens all the time. You hear cars backfiring all the time, and you can easily construe that to be just a normal thing that's going on. That's it. That's the act of processing what's happening, and then when you see people scattering, you know it's something serious.
And so we were able to update the injury report, and it wasn't the good news that we were hoping. That I said probably less than an hour ago that so far we had not lost anyone.
Right.
That's not the case anymore. We have official reports now that one person has died from this active shooter situation at FSU. So now we had 6 patients transported to Tallahassee Memorial, and one person has died. We don't know if that one person was the one who was in critical condition or one of the 5 who was in serious condition, but we do know that we've lost someone in this situation. We also know that the active shooter, one of them, or the suspect, we hope it's the only suspect, is in custody and has been now for 2 hours, would you say?
At least 2 hours.
Yeah. And so I'm not sure why they chose 4 o'clock for the time. So we want to make sure that we have some information coming out. I don't believe they would be holding this conference if they couldn't tell us some very concrete information.
Well,
and I'd like to think we're going to hear it's all clear.
They could be holding a news conference just to give you answers some minute questions that they can release at this time. You have to remember it's still an active, ongoing investigation, and you know, the public wants to know what's going on. I understand that, but the public also has to understand to do a thorough job and make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. You got to take your time and be methodical with the way you investigate it, with the way you release information. You know, you got to make sure the next of kin has been notified of the deceased person. There's a lot of things. It's a checklist that they have to go through before they start divulging information to the public.
Right. And we do have a statement from FBI Director Dan Bongino. The FBI is on the scene at FSU. He said, I am en route back to D.C. from our L.A. office, but we are getting updates on the situation on the plane. We will update you as soon as we learn more. So that was from the FBI director. And we told you earlier about a statement from State Representative Angie Nixon. It echoes what we're hearing from a lot of state officials, that everyone be safe in Tallahassee right now. My thoughts and my prayers are with the families of the victims that have been injured during the shooting at FSU. And then we've also heard now from Jacksonville City Councilman Rory Diamond. He says, quote, prayers for our friends at Florida State. It looks ugly, and that's probably when he first started hearing about it, and indeed it has turned tragic with one person dead in the shooting at the Student Union building. And we've been talking with students. If you've been listening to us, I've had a chance to tune in for a while. Kyla was a freshman. Fortunately, she was in a building across the street from the Student Union building, and last we talked to her, she was being moved for the third time for a very slow procession away from the Student Union. She said there were hundreds, maybe 1,000 students, she's guessing, and they were asked to walk very, very slowly away with police escort. And at one time, she said there were at least 10 police officers in the hall in the building where she was. So we're joined now by my co-anchor, Anthony Austin, and we want to go first. We'll talk with Anthony in just a moment, but let's talk now to our reporter, Riley Phillips. She is driving now to the campus of FSU, and she was there for the 2014 shooting, which we've been talking about earlier, when the suspect was overcome and killed. Riley, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi, Jeannie.
Okay, so you're still driving, is that right?
Yes, I am. We're about 25 minutes away from campus.
Okay, so do you want to look back at the 2014 shooting, or do you have some new information for us, although I know you're en route?
We do not have any new information right now, but I know we are headed to that press conference that is taking place at 4. So hopefully we'll learn some more and have some questions answered then.
Okay, take us back to 2014. That was in the library.
Yes, so I was a sophomore at Florida State. I was in my dorm sleeping. It happened late at night. And I just remember being woken up by one of my roommates, and she came in and she said, hey, I'm so sorry to wake you up, but there's been a shooting on campus, and kind of, trying to process what happened. So then at that point, all my roommates got together trying to figure out where it was, what happened, if anyone was hurt, and that's when we learned it happened at Strozier, the main library.
And that suspect was overcome, right?
Yes, he was. I just remember hearing that police got on scene almost immediately, and they took down the shooter.
And hey, Riley, it's Anthony jumping in here. I just got here into the studio. I know as we've been talking to you, you're an FSU alum, and you just kind of told us about your experience when that shooting happened back in 2014. Do you remember what the response was after the shooting happened? What were you all told on campus? Were there any extra protection measures put in place, or what happened after that?
It definitely felt like more police on campus, but I feel like they were very transparent, making sure that everyone understands the alert system, things like that. I don't remember, though, as a student, I guess, paying attention, though, at that time. Now, as a journalist, I would pay attention to that, but as a student then, I don't remember paying attention to, if any new protocols were put in place following that.
Well, Riley, we've been hearing from students today who knew exactly what to do. They had rehearsed it even in their high school years, one here in Jacksonville. They knew to stay away from the windows. They knew to get down on the floor, turn out the lights, speak quietly, not move, and not follow any other instructions unless they knew police were there. So several of them told us that they felt like they were protected. They got the alert. They knew what was going on. And we've only talked to a few, so we don't know if the experience was different for somebody else, but they seemed to be in total control. And though they were nervous, they were calm. So, Riley, you're headed to the news conference there. Where is that going to be exactly?
That is going to be, I know it's not on campus. Let me get the exact name of the building. It's going to be at the Turnville Center, and this is actually downtown Tallahassee. It's not on campus.
And so we've been seeing live shots from a street, Tennessee. Does Tennessee run in front of the Student Union building?
Yes, it's the main, one of the main streets that runs through the city of Tallahassee as a whole, and you go, it's right next to campus.
And that's the picture we've been seeing
It's a major
live.
street.
Okay, so that's, I don't know exactly how close that is to the Student Union building. That is Tennessee right there. And for a good 30 minutes, 45 minutes, we've been seeing just normal looking traffic. But there is a line there. I don't know if those are people trying to go and see what's going on. But Ken, you've been telling us that it's natural for parents to want to go. And we talked to a mom from Baker County. She's in her car right now, probably about 20 minutes from campus now. She wants to see her daughter, even though she knows that Chloe, her daughter, is still alive.
Yeah, you can tell a parent not to come to a situation like this. They're going to go. They're going to go. There's nothing you can do about it other than contain the scene once they get there. There's certain designated areas that they'll have for them, and that'll be the only place they want to go, because you don't want them walking around while you're trying to conduct an investigation. But from a parent standpoint, and I'm speaking from a parent standpoint, I will be en route, if not already there as well, standing by, even if I've talked with my loved one and I know they say that they're safe, but until I actually touch them and see them, right, then I'm comforted. Outside of that, I'm going.
I know on my way here, a number of my friends have students at FSU, and they've been letting us know, hey, I just want to let you know my child is safe. One of my friends, she has 2 daughters there. She instantly called them, of course, as any parent would, and they told her that they are okay. I do have one friend, her son is currently in a classroom. He has not been allowed to leave yet, of course, because we know the all clear has not been given, but he is currently sheltering in place. But as you guys have been talking about, scary moments for any parent out there, especially for those students on campus.
And I think we have to pass along your advice that if you are driving and you're listening to us or you're about to get in the car, don't think you can just go wherever you want on campus.
No.
Don't even think about that, because you're not going to be allowed, and you shouldn't.
They'll feel confident knowing that they're there, waiting for the loved ones to come out once the all clear is out. They'll feel a whole lot better being in Tallahassee as opposed to in Jacksonville or anywhere else. So just understand that law enforcement has a role to make sure that they're able to give the all clear, and that way everybody be reunited.
All right. Ken, we just got a statement in from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. Sheriff T.K. Waters, he's saying, quote, although we are not in the same city, the Jacksonville community is deeply connected to Florida State University. The men and women of JSO stand with the FSU shooting victims, students, teachers, administrators, and loved ones. This incident of senseless violence, a tragedy for all Floridians, cries out for justice. As our law enforcement colleagues conduct their investigation, our agency stands ready to support and assist.
And here's a statement from Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan, and we all know that Mayor Deegan is an FSU alum, proud of FSU. We've heard her talk about that for years, usually in a happier situation about football. But now she says, I am heartbroken to see the tragedy unfolding at FSU today. As an alum who also had a child at Florida State, my heart goes out to the families and students terrorized by this senseless act of violence. I'm continuing to monitor the news out of Tallahassee, and my prayers are with everyone there. And it was, I think, very powerful when we talked with one of the young men here, Nicholas, who is a Wolfson grad from Jacksonville, family and law enforcement. I mean, you could tell he was trying to find another word, but he kept saying it was sad. And I'm like, that's okay. Because what other word do we have? I mean, that is a powerful word. He just said, all his friends were saying this is just sad. I can't believe it's happening, that somebody would have no value for human life or whatever was going on, maybe a mental situation. But that word sad is powerful, and it sure encompasses a lot.
Right here before a holiday, before Easter weekend, and to have this happen on campus. Okay. Our producer is telling us right now, you can see that's that shot we've been looking at for a while. A live look at the traffic that's going there on campus. I believe Riley just told us that's near the Student Union, correct?
Perhaps goes in front?
Yeah, it goes in front right there. So if you're just now joining us, I just want to do a quick reset about what we know. The shooting that happened on the FSU campus, it happened around noon today. Near the Student Union, and I heard Jeannie just say the new information that we have, we know at least one person is dead. Another is in custody after this active shooter situation. At least 6 people right now are receiving treatment at Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare. That information came from a hospital spokesperson, and the school sent an alert urging students to seek shelter as a shooter was reported, as I just mentioned, in the area of the Student Union. Right now, as far as we know, the all clear has not been given on campus just yet. We are waiting for that to happen. We are expecting a news conference to happen in a little under an hour, about 45 minutes at 4 o'clock, to get an update on the situation. But once again, we know that there is at least one person in custody.
And so we were told that, I'm not sure who this lady is here right now, but our producers will fill us in if that's somebody we can talk to. But when we were talking to Kyla rather, she was in her English class in a building, and she said that when they were taken out of that building, some of her friends were in a kind of like a teacher assistant's office is where she talked to us, and her other friends are right there, and I asked, you know, just out of respect, would they be willing to talk with us, and she said no, and which I take as they're still very, very nervous about it. But I think because her aunt is a friend of our FCN family, that she was able to speak with us and stay on the phone with us for a couple of hours. But when she described it, you know, they just were being told to be quiet. You could see the police officers in and out of the hall, but they really had no information. They didn't know anything. So I was giving her information. And so that is, talk about some anxiety for her.
That's right. I've seen a lot of videos today on social media of police actually responding to the situation on campus, responding to those who may have been hurt in this incident. I understand right now we have Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan on the phone. The mayor, as we know, is an alum of FSU. Mayor, thank you for speaking with us.
Hey, Anthony, how are you?
Doing well, doing well. Right now, hearing this news happening in Tallahassee, what are your thoughts right now?
Well, obviously, it's heartbreaking to see all of this. It's a person who graduated from FSU, who loved the university, and who had a child there. It's very hard to watch. The very first thing that I thought of doing is, after I checked on everybody that I knew was there, was I simply called my son and texted my son to let him know that it had happened. He had heard about it. He's out of town, but he had heard about it. But any parent, I'm sure your heart just skips a beat when you hear all that. But obviously, I love the city. I love the university, and it breaks my heart to think of all the terror that was caused there.
And your son, Drew, how many years ago did he graduate from FSU?
He graduated from FSU, and I want to say in 18.
Okay, so he may not have known anybody on campus.
So it's been a few years.
So when you were on campus a few years ago, what can you tell us about that student union building? We understand it's just a busy place all the time.
Oh, it is. It's incredibly busy. I mean, it's really frankly amazing to hear that there's not more people that we're talking about here. The student union is always a packed area, and you know, I suspect at a different time of day it might have been even worse. But I don't know. I guess it was close to around lunchtime, wasn't it?
Right.
I don't know, but you know, frankly, it's whoever did that had to know that was a place where a lot of students are. I guess we know anything about that at this point, but it is. I sure wish that there was some way that we could just get out of this cycle of gun violence that we see. It just makes me so sad for our students who are there just trying to learn, just trying to get their education, to see something like this happen. And I'm sure that it will stick with students forever and ever, and they'll be frightened. But I think at this point, I just want to make sure that all the families that need to hear information are getting it. And I want to hear, obviously we're hearing different information about what is actually transpiring there in terms of how many people are injured and if there are any fatalities. So I'm very anxious, like everybody else is, I'm sure, just to hear the full story. And it sounds like they're still not releasing everybody yet. So that's the other piece that I'm wondering about. They're not clearing the entire scene.
Well, Mayor, we have heard that one person is dead. That's the unfortunate news. And we just heard from our Riley Phillips, who's a student at FSU back in the last shooting in 2014, and she remembers that being a student there. Is there anything you remember from that shooting? Not that you were a student there, but we covered that in 2014.
You know, I remember a little bit about it. I remember that I think it was somebody who had mental issues, if I'm recalling correctly. But beyond that, I wasn't there, and I don't remember a whole lot about it. Beyond the fact that it is long lasting. I mean, whenever there's a tragedy like that, whenever there's a situation that involves the entire FSU community, it sticks with everybody for a long time. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that are there that were thinking, no, not again. But unfortunately, I think we've become so used to these things that it's just hard to watch and hard to see it happen.
Right. And once again, Mayor, as an FSU alum, as a mother, as the leader of our city, what is your message to parents who may be watching right now, who might be frightened, who might be afraid as they try to continue to get more information about what is happening there in Tallahassee?
Well, obviously they're sharing phone numbers. I know that the law enforcement is putting out as much information as they can. I would simply tell them that my heart goes out to them. I love them. I'm sorry they're going through it, and I pray that their children are safe and okay. I can't imagine. I've talked to several parents that I know that have kids there. I mean, that was my very first thought. I texted everybody that I knew that had kids that were at FSU, and of course, every one of them immediately had reached out to their child, and everybody was safe. But my heart just goes out to those parents. And as I said, I love the FSU community. It's my adopted city, and I hate to see something like this happen anywhere, but especially there.
Well, and it's good to hear from you too, as a mom too. We talked to a lady named Casey Stevenson from Baker County, Mayor, and her daughter Chloe. She didn't want to call her because she was worried that the sound might alert anybody who might still be dangerous. But she did get a text, and the text said, "I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. I think it was a brother or a sister." So as a mom yourself, you can understand how that text must have meant the world to her.
Jeannie, I mean, of course. I mean, you have children. You know how that terror that goes through your heart whenever something like that happens. I mean, that's what I said. My first instinct, even though I knew my son wasn't physically there anymore, was to reach out to him and say, "Hey, did you see this happen?" I think everybody initially wants to just grab their kids and make sure they're safe. But I certainly hope those parents get the answers that they need soon, and that whatever threat there is under control shortly.
Have you been briefed about any resources Jacksonville is sending to Tallahassee?
I haven't at this point, Jeannie. I'm sort of like the rest of Jacksonville at this point. Beyond a few calls, I got a call from Al Lawson from Tallahassee, basically to alert me, to let me know that it happened, and said he would keep me posted. But I'm mostly just staying glued to the television to see what the updates are, to see if we've gotten more answers. As I said, there's a lot of misinformation out there. What I would say to parents is stay off the internet. You're going to see things that disturb you. There's people that are posting videos and pictures that they shouldn't be posting. I would say think about the families that are out there waiting for answers, and don't do things like that until we know more. But I'm sure that it's just a hideously scary time for so many. But I'm going to continue to monitor just like you all are. And if I learn anything, I'll certainly let you know.
All right, Mayor Donna Deegan, thank you so much for joining us and speaking with us about this tragedy at FSU. And she said something that was excellent there, because I'm seeing the same thing. A lot of people are sending me videos and things that they're seeing on social media right now. A lot of people posting things that they probably shouldn't, and we're just working to verify a lot of things that are out there right now, because in this age and time, especially on social media, you're going to see a lot of people release information that may not be true, it may not be factual, and we don't want to create an atmosphere of panic and fear right now. So right now, we're just giving you the information that we know and the information that we have confirmed at this hour. So once again, if you're just now joining us, we're hearing that one person is dead after the shooting that happened on FSU's campus near the Student Union there. It happened around noon. We know that 6 people are in the hospital there in Tallahassee. And coming up in a little bit more than 30 minutes now, we are going to have a news conference from FSU to update us on this situation. That way we can get some more information to you and let you know exactly what's happening. And the reason that we're on the air right now the campus has not been cleared. There are still students who are in classrooms or in different places sheltering in place at this hour. So we're going to stay here with you until we get the information that everyone is safe on campus and an all clear has been given. But we just want to continue to stay on air and keep you updated, especially you parents out there who might not be able to make it to Tallahassee or whatever you may be doing right now. We just want to make sure that you stay informed about what is happening on campus.
And Anthony, I think you raise a good point, and this is what we've been talking with Ken Jefferson, who's had decades of experience in law enforcement, and that is not to jump to conclusions. So, Ken, what would you say to everybody who's saying in their mind, well, 4 o'clock, a news conference, it must be good news? We don't know that.
No, we don't know what the police are going to release at that particular time. All we do know is that they're going to update us as much as they can. You know, some information has to be guarded close to the vest while it's an active, ongoing investigation. So I understand the anxiety. I understand them wanting to know everything, but we may not get everything that we want to know right now. But as the investigation continues and as the time progresses, they'll continue to update the information as as they get it and they can release it.
And how do you clear a campus? You think about the basement areas, or maybe not so much in Florida, but the little nooks and crannies and closets and roofs, and I mean, how do you possibly
Well, that's why you have your
clear all that?
K-9 unit there. Your K-9 units can go places where officers doesn't necessarily have to go. You said the basement. They'll send the K-9 unit down there to sniff out whatever. If anybody's there, they're going to regret that the K-9 unit found them there. So they're going to go through the entire campus. And you see how they do it? One building at a time. One building at a time, clearing it, going through there, vetting anybody that was in there or is in there at the time, sheltering in place, as you said, and getting whatever information that they can out of it. It's a very methodical process that they have to do, and they're going to be there until it's done.
You know, Ken, in situations like this, I'm sure the response time has improved over the years because unfortunately this is not our first time to deal with these type of shootings. And can you maybe kind of talk about that from a law enforcement standpoint, just kind of the continuous training that goes on in these situations?
Yeah, and I'm curious to know what the response time was for the outside agencies, but you know, FSU have their own police agency right there, so they were right there when it happened. I don't know how far they were from the student union, but I would imagine if the student union is as active and heavily populated as they say during that particular time, you had officers close by, if not inside the union at that time. Maybe not inside, but at least close by, just in case something did happen. Response times over the years has improved greatly, particularly in light of all these type of incidents that's happen all throughout the United States. Police respond, gosh, within 2 minutes if they're outside of the campus to this. And as I said earlier, they run to that situation, not try to hold everybody back and see what's going on. They're going to get right there in the line of fire to make sure that our kids are safe.
And one big topic of discussion, Anthony, all day has been, all afternoon, is do we think, we don't know, but do we think this is a lone gunman, or would we be surprised if it were not?
I would be very surprised if there was another person involved. They got one person in custody, but I would be very surprised because you rarely ever see that happening where you got persons in cahoots for a mass shooting. The shooter a lot of times want to make a name for themselves. As crazy as that sounds, they want to make a name for themselves. They don't want to share that kind of infamous title with anyone else. So they're, you know, did he have a grudge? Was he mad at a professor? Was he going through some mental issues? Was he being bullied? Was he depressed? All those things, they're going to delve into all of that stuff. They're going to dig up every single thing since he was born to find out what really the motive, if he doesn't tell them what the motive was.
And I hear you say he. We very rarely hear it's a woman.
Yeah, I haven't heard of a woman being involved in a shooting like this. So yeah, we're saying he. We don't know, but I think if it was a woman, we would know that. They would probably say we have one woman in custody.
Right, they would let us know.
Yeah.
So right now behind us, you can see that they're actually getting ready for that live news conference. Once again, that's expected to happen around 4 o'clock. So in a little over 30 minutes, we're expecting to hear an update on exactly what's happening there on the campus of FSU. Our co-anchor, Heather Crawford, she's actually on her way to the campus right now, and she's joining us by phone. Heather, I know you've been speaking with people about this situation.
That's right, Anthony. I talked to 2 seniors at Florida State University, and what they described was just terrifying. So I'll share both of the stories from their perspective. The first one is a young man. He's a senior. He's from St. Johns County, and he did not know what was happening. And he had been in the student union just moments before the shots rang out. And he said he and his friend were working on a research project, and they decided, hey, you know what, let's pick this up tomorrow. I'm going to walk back to my apartment right off campus. And so he left, and as he's walking through the building right next to the student union, all of a sudden he says he sees all of these students just running out. He said they were hyperventilating and screaming, yelling, there's a shooter, there's a shooter, there's a shooter. And he never heard any shots fired. He made it back to his apartment right off campus,
Heather,
and then he started getting a barrage of
Heather,
text messages.
I don't
and
mean
the
to...
videos that his friends have been sending him are just something no student should ever have to see.
So
People
Heather,
down on the
excuse
ground.
me for interrupting you.
He sent a video of someone he thought might be the shooter out on a stretcher being escorted out with police. And so there's just a lot of confusion. What was going on? Where did it start? How many people are involved? How many people are hurt? And these students are all trying to process this while they are still sheltering in place. And so he described it as just a very terrifying situation for those around him. For him, he wasn't in the panic. He made it home safely. But I think it's that flood, trying to process this as a college student. What is going on? What is happening? His roommate is also a senior and had a totally different perspective. He was in a classroom in the College of Business building, and he told me they alerted an audible siren. It was an active shooter message alert intercom system. And then they sent me a picture of the alert that came across the projector at the front of the classroom, and it said alert in all capital letters. And it was that alert that has been sent out to students today, right around 12 o'clock this afternoon, that said dangerous situation. There's a report of an active shooter in the area of the student union. Police are on the scene, and it told people to shelter and await further instruction. And
hey, Heather, can you hear me right now?
Not knowing what to do. They weren't sure what to do. I asked him, did you barricade the door? And he said I believe he said the desks were bolted down. So they only had one desk they could move, but they couldn't really get it under the door. And so he said his professor stood at the door with his hand on that doorknob to not let anyone out. But he said before that, some people were kind of looking out the door. They weren't sure what was going on. He said they were huddled in a corner. The lights were turned off for about a half hour. And some people, he said there was all different reactions. Some were notably crying. Some were, just trying to make sense of it, just having conversations. And others were getting up and looking out the window, and they could.
So Heather, we don't mean to interrupt you, but we have some news officially from FSU. The threat has been neutralized. So we want to get that on right now.
That's right. And so I have a little bit more information. So right now, this is coming from FSU directly. They're asking people to avoid the Student Union, Bellamy, HCB Classroom Building, Rovetta A and B, Moore Auditorium, Shaw, Pepper, Heck House, and Caraway, as they are still considered an active crime scene. But they are telling us right now people are free to move about other areas of the campus. If anyone has witnessed anything, they have a phone number. It's 850-891-4987 that people can call. But once again, we understand the threat has been neutralized. People can now move about the campus except in certain areas that are still considered an active crime scene.
So Ken, the threat has been neutralized.
Yeah, so what they're saying is that we believe we have the suspect in custody that's responsible for this. We don't believe that there's anyone else that's involved with this. We've got this situation neutralized, and the areas that Anthony mentioned for them to stay away from is a part of the crime scene. So they have to process that crime scene and collect and preserve any kind of evidence that may be out there at that particular time. So students are free to move around and go to do the things that they would normally do, which right now they're not feeling that. They're going to go to their apartments or their dorms or whatever and just try to process this whole thing because it's a very traumatic experience. I'm certain that some of those students knew the ones that were involved as far as being victimized, and whether it be professors or teachers or students. They probably know some of them, so they can't concentrate on any kind of studies at this time. But the police are saying that we've got this scene, this crime scene, and this situation under containment right now. You can go about doing what you need to do from henceforth.
And so it's not that there's any active shooter danger anymore. It's just that they're processing the crime scenes around the students.
There's no danger to the students or anybody on the campus right now. They've got to process the crime scene. Like I said, it's not like television where they solve everything in an hour. They've got to methodically go through everything. They're going to look for shell cases. They're going to look for clothing items, notes, or anything that is relatable to the actual incident itself. And they process that and they preserve that, and they have to present that because it sounds as though they've got a suspect in custody, which means that he has to go through his due process. So there's going to be a trial. So unless, something happened where the person confesses and there's no trial or whatever, but you have to go through that due process, and in going through that due process, they have to make sure that they have everything, every single thing lined up to prosecute this individual.
And we've just gotten word too that this press conference we were hoping would be at 4 is still going to happen, but it's going to be at 4:30 now, we're told by authorities.
Right. I just got a push alert from Tallahassee Police. They say multiple law enforcement agencies remain on site for this ongoing investigation. As I just mentioned, the student union and surrounding areas are still considered an active crime scene. Individuals should not return to the area for any reason. They are saying also right now, busing is underway to help students reach the reunification point at the Donald L. Tucker Civic Center. And as Jeannie just mentioned, that briefing is going to be closer to 4:30. But parents, if you are concerned about your students on campus, it appears they are getting them on buses right now to reach the point where they can be reunited with family members, loved ones, or whomever it may be at the Donald L. Tucker Civic Center.
And let's talk with our producer, Mike. Do we want to be able to go back to Heather on the phone? Okay, she's driving right now, so let's take a this. Okay, so it's a live picture. We're seeing mostly trees and Spanish moss there and sirens there, but that's a live picture now somewhere on the FSU campus. We also have information from Florida A&M University. They are posting messages along with a lot of other people too, saying that, quote, Florida A&M University sends our love and prayers to the Florida State University community during this time. Please remain strong, is what they're saying. That's right. Also, producers, if there might be a way that we can get Riley Phillips back on the phone to talk. Okay, we're going to get her because since she is an alum of FSU, I would like to ask her about the locations on campus where they're telling people not to go that are considered an active crime scene. I'm just kind of curious about the proximity where these buildings are located on campus to kind of give us a better idea of maybe what happened there. And we heard hours ago that everything pretty much is canceled on FSU's campus, but here's an official statement from the athletic department. FSU Athletics posted on social media that all Florida State Athletics home events through Sunday, April 20th now have been canceled. So they're looking ahead now through April 20th, no athletic events at FSU. They say further updates on events scheduled for next week will be communicated when they are available. All right, so we have our Riley Phillips. She's currently on her way to FSU to report on this situation. And Riley, I have some questions for you right now because we just got an update from FSU. Let me pull that back up here on my phone about the locations that are considered active crime scenes right now. And with you being an alum and going to school there, yes, I'm kind of curious about the location. So of course they're telling people to avoid the student union, Bellamy, the HCB classroom building, Rovetta A&B, Moore Auditorium, Shaw, Pepper, Heck House, and Caraway. Can you maybe tell us where these buildings are located on campus, if you can remember?
Yes. So the HCB building is right across there's this big walkway right across the walkway from the student union. So whoever was in that building probably had the best vantage point for seeing something. Bellamy is the building right next to HCB, so those students were also close to the student union. Moore Auditorium is right in the same place. All those buildings are kind of right in the same area near the student union.
Okay, thanks. That gives me a better idea because I was trying to determine how spread out maybe this crime scene was. But as you just mentioned, it seems once again where they say the shooting happened all right there near the student union on campus. Riley, you will probably be arriving soon, I'm told, your ETA?
Yes, we just parked. We are getting ready to head into the conference center where that press conference is supposed to be held within the next hour. We're actually directly across from the Civic Center where that reunification site is, and there's still a lot of cars there. We saw some students walking around. So that is still a very active area too.
All right, Riley Phillips, thank you for giving us that update and giving us a perspective of where these buildings are located on campus. So Riley, once again, she is an alumni of FSU. She is covering this story for us. She will be at the news conference, as you heard her just mention. They just parked. That news conference expected to happen around 4:30, where we will get more information. But if you're just now joining us here at 3:37, we've been told by FSU that the threat has been neutralized. So that means there's no more threats there on campus to students or faculty or whatever it may be. People are now allowed to move about on campus except in those areas that I just mentioned where it's still considered an active crime scene right now.
And when you go on social media, we were warning you to be careful and not buy into some of the pictures being posted, but statements from people. There are thousands of statements on social media right now, and the one that stands out to me is, when will this stop? And nobody has an answer to that. And the thing is about it is, we heard, it was 10 or 11 years ago, there was a shooting there at the library. We were talking about that in 2014, and that was bad enough. Now we have this, and we already know that one person has died. And on the screen now, we keep saying that there were 6 people taken to the hospital, 1 critical, 5 serious, but one of those is now a fatality. And you wanted to say something, Ken, I saw.
Yeah, everything that's being posted on social media, as we all have emphasized, is assumptions as it stands right now, unless it's coming from an official that's investigating the crime. So you can't stress it enough. Don't buy into what you're seeing on social media, because it's only going to build up your anxiety and make matters worse for yourself. So just be vigilant. Be patient, and let's hear from law enforcement at 4:30.
That's right. I'm just reading something here. This is coming from NBC News, and it's something to think about, because I remember being in this newsroom. We were in our editorial meeting when the shooting in Parkland happened, and one of the parents of one of the Parkland survivors said that some of the survivors are currently students at FSU right now. So to have them to go through this again, I heard you guys talking earlier about just the traumatic experience of dealing with something like this, the trauma of dealing with this, and to be a Parkland High School student in 2018, and maybe you're still on campus now at FSU, is just something to think about.
Yeah, and you can imagine some of those same students have gone through counseling, and they relive that moment in Parkland on a regular basis. Now they're faced with something again very similar to what happened in Parkland. So they're going to have to continue to get that counseling, as well as other students who traumatically affected by this particular incident. It's just a shame, you know, the phrase that's been used, it's a shame that this sort of thing still happens in the United States of America. And we're having to face these type of things, these type of issues. I think early prevention is going to be key and vital. And what I mean by that is, you know, if anyone see any signs of anybody exemplifying, like I said earlier, depression, feeling like they're a victim of being bullied, or having some kind of mental issues, tell somebody. Bring it to somebody's attention so that they can intercede and possibly prevent this sort of thing from happening.
Right.
We are now hearing from the University of Florida president. He sent out a statement too, and he says he joins everyone at the University of Florida in sending our most caring thoughts and our deepest sympathies to the Florida State University family. And he says our hearts go out to everyone who has been affected by the shootings and also their loved ones. And so we know, who knows how many parents are on the road right now driving to FSU or calling. By now, phone calls have gone out pretty well, and text messages to aunts and sisters and grandmas and moms and dads. And the woman we talked to from Baker County, that mom should be arriving about now on campus.
And you know, I want to add to that, the Florida State University, based on Nicholas, I think, when you were talking to Nicholas, they did a very thorough job of putting out the information. They had specifics in it. You know, they put out an alert, and they said, we've got an active shooter situation, shelter in place, lock your doors, close, don't go to windows. It was very accurate and very precise and very timely. That actually saved lives. It saved lives because it's making everybody aware. They didn't just say this is a red alert, shelter in place. No, they told, because when you hear about an alert, the first thing you want to do is look out the window or try to find out what's going on, but they were specific as to what was going on so that they'll know what to do.
I think the chaos was immediately subdued. When we talked to Kyla, Kyla was there when it all happened at the very beginning, and she said at first she saw people just running, you know, and not really having anywhere to go, and that didn't last long. Before they knew it, people were where they were supposed to be and quieted down. But I mean, that's a natural reaction as you flee, because you don't know what's going on. You hear shots. Some of the students heard shots. They weren't even in the student union building. They were either across the street or in a building next door, and they could hear the gunshots. So I'm sure that was frightening.
Right, and as I agree with you. The information that was coming out from campus, it was accurate, it was quick, and once again, as I was mentioning earlier, just kind of lessons learned in this situation. You know, unfortunately, we've been through this before, and so I know schools and law enforcement, they're continuing to tighten their procedures, they're continuing to review it to make sure they can save as many lives as they can and stop these threats from happening.
Absolutely.
So what's going on right now from the law enforcement perspective, would you say?
Well, nothing's changed. They're still scouring the area. They're still vetting buildings as well as talking to witnesses, anybody that's got information. And you know what, sometimes people feel that their information is not really important. You know, I heard a gunshot. Well, they know we can hear gunshots, and they won't tell law enforcement that. But that's vital information that law enforcement needs to hear from anybody that's involved whatsoever.
In that statement you read earlier, ask for information.
Ask for information. In fact, I was going to try to, if I can find that phone number again, that they're telling people where they can call if they have any information, because parents, maybe your child, if you're watching us right now, maybe your child is on campus and maybe they did see something. I want you to write down this number that I'm about to give you, and they can actually call and give any information they might have. That's 850-891-4987. Once again, 850-891-4987. So if you know someone on campus who has information, if they saw what happened, any little piece of information will help law enforcement. So be sure to tell them to call that number.
And here's the FSU information line you were just talking about there, 850-644-4636. And producers, can we please put up the unification information one more time for families who want to unify, get back together and just hug and touch and see someone they love on FSU's campus. They're looking at that right now. We're going to pull that up on screen in just a moment. And while we're waiting for that to come up, again, this news conference, not at 4 o'clock anymore, but closer to 4:30. So we're within an hour of trying to find out some key information that we don't know yet. That's going to be official word from the police there in that area.
That's right. Our Jessica Clark right now, she's in the studio with us. And Jessica, I understand, I think you have someone on the phone right now that you're going to speak with.
So Rebecca Romaine, she lives in St. Augustine. Her son attends FSU. And this has just been a harrowing, almost 4 hours now for her, communicating with him, she told me, while he was in class. He's a music major, and so we're trying to get her on the phone. But again, I mean, just think, she's been trying to make sure that he's okay for the last hours of this afternoon, watching, the news transpire and just hoping that he's okay. So at this point, I'm just going to check in with the folks up in our control room. Do we have Rebecca at this point? We do. So Rebecca, are you able to hear me? This is Jessica Clark.
I can hear you,
Okay.
Jessica. Thank you.
Okay, Rebecca, thank you for joining us over the phone here. So tell me a little bit about what you first heard and how is Owen?
My son is fine.
Okay. Okay, good.
Getting a little bit of echo feedback.
Okay, maybe our technicians can help with that. She's getting a little bit of mixed minus. They're working on that. But can you tell me how you were communicating with him?
When I was the very first thing that happened was I got a text from my son. Thankfully, he alerted me before the news. He texted me and said, "Mom, we're in lockdown. There's an active shooter on campus."
And at that point, I would imagine your heart dropped.
I was okay because it was coming from him, and I knew he was in. Like, he kept telling me what building he was in and who he was with, and he seemed to be about 5 minutes away from the main area where the concentration of activity was happening.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So that helped a little bit, but he had some friends that were very close to the situation. One friend was fleeing. The actual gunman stopped to help a girl who was on the ground, and the gunman came back out around the corner or wherever they were and started shooting again. He said his friend locked eyes with the gunman and then ran. And so that was really a close encounter.
Did that friend of your son's, did he see the gunman?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a description of him?
I don't, but he just was getting a text while he was in lockdown from his friend.
Oh, my.
The friend is obviously very concerned about the girl who was on the ground that he wasn't able to stay with and had to run.
Right. Okay. So we're using the word gunman. So was it a male?
That's all I know. I
Okay.
don't know. I don't
Okay.
have confirmation. I don't want to make any speculation.
Sure. Okay. Okay. And do you know how is the woman, the young lady who was on the ground?
We don't know.
So my goodness. So the friend stopped to help the young lady who was on the ground, saw the gunman, and then started running again. Oh my gosh, what a decision you have to make, right?
I think it was very upsetting.
Yeah. Oh, I imagine. And so, and at this point, you said we don't know how the young lady is doing. So, how do we know?
My
how
son said that's like his biggest concern is trying to see if his friend can find out. He doesn't even know the girl. It wasn't one of his friends. It was just, he said people were running everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Was the girl hurt?
He said she was hurt but okay when he stopped. So it could have been anything. Who knows if she tripped or
right.
You just don't know.
Yeah, yeah, you don't know. So now you had told me that you had been communicating with him, for hours, right? Until you were able to actually speak with him.
Correct.
Okay.
He texted us, my husband and I, throughout the entire thing. And again, he was far enough away where he wasn't hearing any gunshots or he told me when we finally talked to him that in this bad of a scenario, he and his friends were probably in the best case location.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, good. So was he hiding? Was he, they were told to shelter in place. Is that what he had been doing?
Yes. Okay. He was practicing with the big band. And there was about 25 students together in a rehearsal room, rehearsal space.
He's a music student.
And they had one professor with them.
Okay, okay, okay. And so they were all in that one room then together, waiting this out?
Correct. And it was about 3.5 hours.
Whew, that is 3 hours of pins and needles, I'm sure. So where is he now?
The good thing was that he kept updating me.
Say that again?
He kept updating my husband and I, which was we were grateful.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. So now he's no longer in that practice room?
No, maybe 10 minutes before you contacted me, he was released.
Okay. Okay. And has gone back to where he lives there?
Yeah, he was able to get to his car. He was able to get through the blocked roads, and he went straight home. He lives a pretty good distance off campus.
Okay. Okay. All right. Do you know how the friend is who had stopped to help the young lady?
I believe the friend is still okay.
Okay.
Very shook up.
Yeah.
A lot of the friends were really shook up. He had one friend who was in the building very close to where the activity was happening. That was one of the first friends that were activated by police, evacuated by police escort.
Okay. Okay.
So that was, getting updates about that friend. He was texting everyone. He had 75% battery, thank goodness.
Oh, so you've told me, the nuts and bolts, as we say, of what happened here. How are you doing now, knowing he's okay? But that was a heck of an afternoon for you to live through.
I'm fine. I'm shook up.
Yeah.
I hate that this is our reality, and I'm heartbroken that other families are not going to have the same story that we have.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And it needs to stop.
Yeah. I'm just curious, did Owen, your son, did he tell you what he would be doing for the rest of the day after all this? What do you do?
He was going to try to find all of his friends, first and foremost.
Okay.
And I asked him if he wanted me to drive to see him, and he said, no, just wait. And, I don't know, maybe he'll come home. We're just still trying to figure out, what's going to be best for his peace of mind. He was really shook up.
Yeah.
He said everyone in his group of bandmates and his shelter-in-place folks were all calm. He said everybody was, doing the best they could to keep in contact with their families, but just no, he said it was the best situation it could have been for a very bad situation.
And for that place where they were in that practice room, in that music practice room, did they feel like they needed to barricade the doors or do anything precautionary?
He told me the doors were there were two sets of double doors and that they were very, securely locked.
Okay.
And I'm making this up, but I think some of those rooms are soundproof. So in my mind, I was thinking it was a very secure room.
Soundproofs, because you're in a music practice room, and
correct.
You don't want the next music practice room to hear you, and so hopefully you're thinking that is an extra layer of security. I see what you're saying there.
Right, like wall thickness and things like that. I was thinking, that's good, that's good. And I know his band instructor. They just played in Apopka, so I was with him last weekend. They played at the Jazz Festival. His band instructor, Dr. Leon Anderson, is just a wonderful human, and I felt very comforted that he was in the room with him.
So you've met and you know the people that your son was hiding with.
Yeah, he was with two of his roommates, and then his band, like his besties,
Yeah. And so that had to provide, I hope, some level of peace for you.
Definitely.
Knowing that they were all together and you knew who they were and you knew that the adult was a good person. Okay.
Yeah, one of the best.
Right. Yeah, that does.
Everyone we've met and come in contact with at FSU is wonderful. Like the staff is amazing. I know the music department has very high accolades, and they're in the middle of their performance season, so they're very busy actively cranking out concerts and things like that.
So Rebecca, again, for those who are kind of just joining us now, we're speaking with Rebecca Romaine. She is a mom in St. Augustine. She's lived there for years. Her son Owen is a junior, a music student at FSU who was on lockdown during this active shooter situation. He is fine. His friend and friends saw some very harrowing sights this afternoon, even possibly saw the gunman. And so, Rebecca, I know you're just kind of coming down off of the adrenaline right now. Maybe you're still living with the adrenaline, but what do you hope to know now? What do you hope takes place now?
I hope no students have passed away.
Well,
that's
Rebecca,
what I hope.
Yeah, okay. We understand one has. And
I don't know how that family is going to cope with it.
Yeah. Rebecca, thank you so much for talking.
Not fair.
I know. You're right. It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
They're good kids. They're all good kids.
Yeah. And I'm so glad your son Owen is okay. Thank you for talking with
Thanks,
us.
Jessica. Take care.
Take care. Anthony, Jeannie, I'm going to toss it back to you.
All right, Jessica, thank you. We do want to clarify something. We do know that one person has died. We don't know if that was a student or maybe a teacher or someone else on campus. So we do want to just make that clear. We haven't received the exact information yet, but we do know that one person is dead after the shooting.
We're so grateful that Owen is okay, and you could just hear the quivering in that mom's voice. And so, Jessica, thank you for spending time understanding what happened to that one family and that same type of situation, that fear, that horrible afternoon over and over and over with hundreds and hundreds of families today. President Donald Trump has spoken out about this, so let's talk about that for a moment. He's talking about the shooting on FSU's campus during a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister of Italy today. He's calling the shooting a shame, and here's what he had to say.
And I've been briefed on the Florida State University, Tallahassee, active shooting. I guess it's an active shooter. Fully briefed as to where we are right now. It's a shame. It's a horrible thing. Horrible that things like this take place. And we'll have more to say about it later.
So once again, that was President Trump there after being briefed on the shooting here in Florida at FSU. And Florida State says law enforcement has neutralized the threat, so that means that there's no longer a threat on campus. The university is asking people to avoid the following areas. I have that on your screen right now. That's the Student Union, Bellamy, the HCB classroom building, Rivetta A and B, Moore Auditorium, and Shaw, Pepper, Heck House, and Caraway. This is still considered an active crime scene. The locations on your screen still considered an active crime scene. But they say people are free to move about other areas of campus if you may have witnessed anything. So if you have a child there at FSU who may have seen anything, if they told you about anything, tell them to call this number. It's 850-891-4987.
And we want to show you a picture from Florida State here. This was from a Florida State music professor, and you can kind of guess what this is. It just talks to the ferociousness of the fear this afternoon, but they did what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to stay away from doorways, stay away from windows, and in this case, blocking the doorway with a piano during the active shooter situation. She says at this time her students were locked down in that classroom there at FSU, and she posted this on Facebook later on, that she said they were all okay now. They were headed home, and they were headed home to hug her dogs in her situation. But we saw pictures earlier too of people had piled furniture, boxes, anything they could up against the doors, staying away from doors and windows, turning out the lights, speaking quietly. But as Ken Jefferson, we were talking about, Anthony, it was amazing how many students felt like they had gotten the training to handle something like this in high schools here in Jacksonville, or really anywhere where they went to high school.
Yeah, they did everything they were supposed to do. When they got the order to shelter in place, they did exactly what they're supposed to do. They didn't just close the door and lock it. They started barricading the doors that way nobody can penetrate in it. And if they didn't have that code word, Seminole, then they weren't going to allow anybody to come in. Law enforcement would knock on the door, give them the code word, or ask them if they knew the code word, and then they would allow them to come in and clear that particular area that they're searching. So because you've got an active crime scene still, like I said earlier, they're just processing that. It doesn't mean anything's going on criminally. They're processing that scene.
Right. So Ken, right now, if you're just now joining us, it is 4 o'clock. I know some of you might just now be getting home. You might just now have time to watch the news of what's happening at FSU. So we want to give you the latest update. We are expecting a news conference to happen in about 30 minutes. Our Riley Phillips, she's at that news conference, so she will be there to give us an update. Once again, this shooting happened on FSU's campus near the Student Union around lunchtime, 12:02, I believe, to be exact. The video you're looking at right now on your screen, that is from earlier today. The new information that we have right now, we know that one person is dead. We're not sure if that was a student or teacher or maybe another person who was on campus. We have not been given that information just yet, but we were told that at least six people were hospitalized. At the time, we were told one was in critical condition, 5 were serious. But we are waiting once again to get more information about exactly how many people have been injured, how many fatalities have happened there. Once again, we only know of one. And of course, we don't want that number to grow any higher, but we are still waiting to get more information from police and from FSU about exactly what happened.
The key sentence here officially from FSU is the threat has been neutralized. Huge words in this tragedy this afternoon. And Ken, tell us a little bit about what that means. We have active crime scenes still, does not mean they think an active shooter is still on campus.
No, that means that they have the shooter contained, and they have cleared the majority of the campus, other than the areas that they outlined for you to stay away from. So they've cleared it. They cleared everything. They feel that there's no further threat to anybody in the public whatsoever. So that just gives them the opportunity to do their part as far as processing that crime scene.
And of course, this is an investigation that's going to last for a while. This is not going to be over and done tonight. Right.
You're absolutely right, Anthony. And like I continue to say, that they are very methodical with the way they investigate this, because you've got to make sure that you get everything, that you know everything that you can get, either from the suspect, but particularly from witnesses who actually saw it. Because you've got some people that was as close as I am to you, that witnessed that can give a first-hand account as to what happened and not be speculative. Because as you can imagine, when gunfire first erupted, everybody's scattering. They're not looking at the shooter. They're looking for an exit. They're looking, trying to get out of there, trying to get away. So all they can say is, I heard gunfire and I ran. But if you've got a person that's this close, he can tell you everything that happened leading up to it, and then afterwards, if that person survived it.
Well, people may be wondering, why are there active crime studies still under investigation, not just at the student union or near the student union, but in buildings surrounding the student union?
Well, anywhere that this shooter went, they're gonna look in that area. They're gonna investigate it. That's just a part of police work. If it happened in the student union, okay, that's the main area. However, he had to walk there. Did he drop something? Did he do something else? They want to look at surveillance cameras to see what he was doing leading up to that, if he was captured on surveillance. So it's a lot that goes into these investigations, more than the public knows.
And as we know, or we suspect here, that this alleged shooter is still living, so there could be a trial. There could be all kinds of things where evidence is going to be critical.
The fact that they say they have a person in custody means that he's living. They haven't reported any injuries or him being transported to the hospital, or this person, I said him, or this person being transported to the hospital. So he obviously is alive and able to talk. Whether or not he is talking or not, we don't know. But they've got a lot to go on right now.
Right. And we do just want to let you know once again, if you know someone who is heading to Tallahassee to check on their child, or maybe you're doing that right now, the Tucker Center is serving as the Student and Family Assistance Center for those impacted by this tragedy right now. Students are being bused over to the Tucker Center to be reunited with loved ones. I believe they're doing that right now as we speak, getting those students over there to that safe place. Once again, this is just such a tragedy to happen right before the holidays. Of course, we know this is Easter weekend, and there probably were some students who probably had already left campus to head home for the holidays. There might have been some students who were preparing to head home during all of this. But once again, this all happened during lunchtime near the student union. Of course, if you've attended college, I remember the student union, that was a popular place around. That's the hub. You know, that's the hub. That's where everything goes on around lunchtime. That's where all the food normally is located if you want to go grab something between classes. But once again, a news conference expected to happen in about 25 minutes, where we're going to get an update from FSU. We don't know exactly what they're going to say in that update, but we are waiting to hear from them soon on that. And I believe right now we actually have an interview from the scene. Okay, our producer is telling me it's actually scene video. Jeannie, if you want to kind of describe, after we play this, exactly what happened there.
Listen up real quick. We are trying to get all of you out of here in a timely manner. It is going to be a minute because there's a lot of you. If you're trying to get on your phone right now, you probably can't, because everybody's on their phone.
I believe she just said everybody's on their phone. That coincides with all the pictures we've seen from the Associated Press, and also people saying that the first thing they want to do was tell their family that they're okay. You can see the size of some of the guns there. This is video from the hallway in a building on Florida State's campus, and you could hear the officer just then telling people that it's going to take some time for people to get home. This is previous this afternoon. He also tells them that they may not be able to get cell phone service because everybody is trying to make calls at the same time. We've not heard anybody say anything to us, but let's listen to what he had.
Hey, get that way, keep your hands up, dude. Great. Keep your hands up, walk out this door. Hey, don't worry about it. Come on. Out of your jacket. Keep walking. Come on. Come on. Keep your hands up. You're doing great. Is anybody hurting here?
No, sir.
If anybody's hurt, just say so.
So this is video from inside a classroom. You can hear officers directing students out of the building, telling them to keep their hands up. You can see that that's what they're doing right now. They later ask if anyone is hurt, and you can hear students respond, thankfully, no, as others can be heard crying during this situation.
And FSU is asking for any parent or any person who has a loved one on campus to call a number on your screen. I think we'll try to put that up here in just a second. And that number, I'll give it to you now, is 850-644-INFO. That's 850-644-INFO or 4636. This should help you find out information about what's happening on campus and any updates as you are wanting to know them. And it was interesting then, just now we heard that the officer there was telling students, you know, you may not be able to get through on your cell phone, because I guess the cell phone towers are clogged up or the lines aren't clear. But everybody we've talked to today has been able to get a text message or a phone call, usually a text message, to somebody they love to say, I'm alive, I'm okay.
They may not have been in that particular area at the
Right.
time, and what he's actually saying was the network is clouded right now because everybody's on the phone all at the same time. In that little congested area, that might have prevented them from actually getting out, getting the call out. But as you can see, law enforcement was large and in charge. There's a large presence there. The students, even though the officers walked into a chaotic situation, were able to keep them calm enough so that they can hear the instructions and follow the instructions of the law enforcement officer. And that's what's most vitally important when you have these type of situations. When you see law enforcement, just do whatever they tell you to do because they're there to get you out safely. So it's not a time to question them or ask them why or anything. Only thing you should do is just comply with what they're telling you to do.
Right, and I'm sure, you know, with this generation, a lot of them were on their phones, as we heard them say there.
Yeah.
A lot, I'm sure, as we've been saying, texting their parents, calling them, letting them know they're okay. They're probably on social media. Once again, I know a lot of you have seen videos on social media because people have been sending those videos to me where students have been taking videos on campus, on Snapchat, just kind of showing their surroundings and things, some unfortunate things that they've had to see there on campus. But their main priority, Ken, as you were mentioning earlier, they go in there, they're responding to the situation, and they're trying to make sure everyone is safe as possible. And
That's correct.
Time is of the essence.
Time is of the essence, and when they say move this way, you move that way. And it's a natural thing for people to get on their cell phones. Some of them are going to videotape some things so that they can, and some of them are going to do selfies so that their loved ones can see that they are safe, whatever. But it's still nothing like a parent actually going there, and checking for themselves.
And we've been talking about the mental health effect on everybody. And I think one thing I learned from the high school shooting we had here years back in Jacksonville was that sometimes this reaction is delayed. And so parents need to keep in mind that you may think your child recovers from the trauma of the day, but they might be suffering and need mental health counseling down the road, and to not ignore that. And that's important because some of these students at that school reported months later they were having nightmares. Months later they needed some help with PTSD. So the ramifications go on, and you might want to be thinking about that as a parent, that maybe I'm relieved today, but my child may need help.
And that's a very good point. And counselors are aware of that, and they bring those things to the attention of the person that they're counseling, because it does have a trickle-down effect later on in life. You know, the Parkland shooting is a great example where some of these students at FSU now were victims of that, not being injured or anything, but they were a part of that total situation, and they received counseling, and now they're reliving it, so they're going to have to get more counseling. So that's a very good point that you made. But the professional counselors are going to make sure that they understand that going forward, and that counseling is available for them all the time.
Right. I remember I was in school when Columbine happened, and at the time, that was the first major event of that nature, and everyone was terrified. They didn't know what to do. We kind of thought we did start going through training in school, but it wasn't quite as rigorous as it is now. It's kind of become commonplace for a lot of students to go through these active shooter drills, these trainings, so they're kind of familiar with it. It's a training you never want to use, but they are making sure that these students are aware.
Right. It's like you said, it's not what you want to do, but you have to. The way society is right now, the easiest thing for a coward to do is to grab a gun and start firing at people arbitrarily. Right. But you got to know what to do. You can't just stand there and sit there and scream, but you're either going to run, you're either going to hide, or you're going to fight. One of the three is going to happen.
And I think in this situation, everybody in this college community, university community, and the towns, we all know FSU so well, even if we didn't go to school there. I mean, somebody who went to FSU. There's going to be so much support. It didn't just happen way off somewhere else. And the fact that these kids are going to go back and finish out their year, I don't know if FSU is going to delay the start of class. We haven't heard that yet or not. But they'll be able to go home maybe during Easter and talk with their families. But the school year's not over, and they're not going to cancel the rest of the school year. So there are going to be plenty of chances to get into with that community, talk to the students, talk to teachers, and just kind of flesh out what their feelings are.
Yeah, you're going to have a great opportunity to help those students navigate through this. And as we look at the footage there, you see the law enforcement officers doing what they're trained to do. They're responding. They're running to where the problem is. any students that get in their way, they're going to tell them to get behind them. And when parents watch that, it's like their hearts just drop because they don't know where their students are or their children are at that particular time. But once they get that call, knowing that they're okay, then they breathe a sigh of relief. And I got to give kudos to law enforcement, not because I was a former law enforcement officer, but I want to give them kudos simply because these are brave men and women who are risking their lives for the sake of others. And the average Joe wouldn't be able to do that. So they're going there, they're going to make sure that everybody is safe, they're going to make sure that they get a suspect in custody, and they're going to go home and be able to be with their families.
And we talked to Mayor Donna Deegan earlier today, and she was she's a very well-known FSU supporter, and we were mentioning that usually we hear her cheering for FSU's football team, and it's a much happier celebration and fun on the football front. But this is a totally different day, and she right away did what any mom would do. I mean, she said even though Drew, her son, had graduated a little while back, it just triggered feelings in her, and she still wanted to make sure he was okay. She knew he was out of town, but still all this stuff comes up in front of you and right in your face. You see it on TV, and I've just got to gather my chickens around me and my little kids, my sheep, and make sure everybody's all right.
And I just saw former Mayor Lenny Curry. His son is on campus there, and he did just post a statement on social media saying thankfully his son is okay, but just once again he's sharing his reaction to this and his shock to what's happening there on campus. So we're just seeing a lot of elected leaders talking about what's happening. We are seeing the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. They've also said that even though this is not their city, they are still reaching out and helping any way that they can in this situation.
And the sheriff will allow some of his resources to go down there if it becomes necessary. So that's, when we talked earlier, we talked about how many officers are there and what agencies could be there. You've got local, state, and federal law enforcement officers there, adjacent counties, and counties that are not so adjacent, like Duval County. He'll send officers there if it became necessary.
And we already heard from the president of UNF here in Jacksonville saying that they've already named the resources that they can share with FSU. So people are already thinking, how are we going to be able to help out in this situation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, so right now it's 4:15. We are expecting that news conference to start in about 15 minutes from FSU to update us on the situation. We don't have details yet of exactly what they're going to talk about, but we are expecting some kind of update. Once again, our Riley Phillips, who's also an FSU alum, she is at that news conference. She will be covering that for us. We also have other reporters headed there. Our co-anchor Heather Crawford will also be live from FSU this evening with an update for us. If you're just now joining us, I know some of you are watching right now, not only on TV, but also on First Coast News Plus. Also on social media right now. You might be watching on Facebook or YouTube, so I want to give an update if maybe you just opened your phone right now. This is what we know. This is the confirmed information. I know you're seeing a lot of reports right now on social media from people saying a lot of things, but this is what we know for sure. We know at least one person is dead. We don't know if that was a college student. We don't know if that was a teacher. We don't know if there was some other employee who was there on campus. We don't know exactly who that one person is that is currently dead, but we do know that there is someone in custody after this active shooter situation at Florida State University. One person is in custody. We don't know who that person is just yet. I know that there are some things out on social media about a possible description and who this person was and the vehicle that they were in, but I'm not going to talk about that until we get confirmed information, hopefully in this news conference, of who the person is that's currently in custody. We were told at least 6 people are receiving treatment at Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare there. That information came from a hospital spokesperson. We know a lot of those people in serious condition. And also, this is the important nugget, the important information. If you have someone, a loved one on FSU's campus, the threat has been, quote, neutralized. That information coming from the school, coming from police. That means that there's no longer a threat on campus there at FSU. So there is a crime scene. There is an active crime scene. Several buildings near the student union right now. No one is allowed to go in those buildings. No one's allowed to go in that area because police are continuing to conduct their investigation. As you heard Ken just mention, they are going to take their time to make sure that they can find all the necessary information that they need in this situation to figure out exactly what happened. But once again, students who are on campus, anyone who's on campus, they now have been cleared. They are allowed to move about the campus except for that area near the student union that is considered an active crime scene. There's also a place, it's the Tucker Center, where people can go to be reunited with their loved ones. They are busing students to the Tucker Center. So if you know someone heading down there, if you're a parent watching right now on your phone, who might be on your way to Tallahassee or you're in the area, the Tucker Center is the spot to go. They're going to bring students over there so they can be reunited with their loved ones. But once again, oh, okay. Okay. One shooter.
Okay, so this is our producer telling us that as we know that the threat is neutralized, but he's saying this is something we did not know. This is new information, confirmed and official. One shooter, but the shooter was shot. That shooter is still alive and in custody with police. So we didn't know yet that the shooter had been shot, and we understand that those injuries are non-life threatening, meaning, Ken, that he could speak and give information if police can get it from him.
Yeah, once medical officials clear him, then the police can interrogate him and start talking to him and trying to get some questions answered from him.
And then we're seeing all kinds of reports. Anthony, as you said, it's difficult to know what to say and what not to, and we don't want to give anything that's a rumor, but NBC is quoting one of the students who's saying it was a normal-looking college dude. So that's not the first time we've heard it seem to be a young person.
Right.
So that seems to be kind of the theme of what the observations were.
Yeah, so once again, we're waiting for that news conference to start. Hopefully in about 10 minutes. Of course, in these situations, we know that they're continuing to probably gather new information and decide what they want to release to the public at this time. So there's a chance that that could maybe start a little later than 4:30, but as far as we know, that news conference is going to be at 4:30 with the update on exactly what's happening there.
And Riley Phillips is there. I believe it's off campus, it's not exactly on campus, but this is such a large campus, and I think it struck me, Ken, when we were talking with one of the young girls who was outside being shepherded across the street. It's not like, and it's bad enough when it's in a convenience store. There's a shooter in part of a mall. But she was describing hundreds of students just in that one area where she was, being able to go from building to building and walk. And she said it was such a high anxiety area. There's an enormous a lot of people who saw this and experienced it.
Yeah, and an enormous amount of people are going to be affected by this, whether they were directly or indirectly involved with it whatsoever. Even if you were a mile away and you're a student there, it's in your psyche. You know, who's going to do something like this next? You know, as you're walking to your classes or whatever. So it has a long-standing effect on everybody that's involved at the campus as a student or even a professor or a teacher. But again, you know, when you talk about a chaotic situation like this and you're involving, I guess I can see a few thousand people that you're trying to move and navigate and make sure that they're safe, make sure that the shooter is not one of them that they're moving and trying to navigate. It's a process that takes professionalism from law enforcement to be able to decipher all those things and know how to move people, crowds of people like that to make sure that they're safe.
That's right, and I want to ask our producer, I know we've had a chance to speak to some students and parents. I don't know if we have any of those interviews that we can show again to people who may be tuning in. Okay, our producer tells me that we're working on turning that around so that you can kind of hear from some of the students. Jeannie, I know you spoke with a young man who his parents are actually with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. He was there on campus when this happened. Our Jessica Clark just finished talking with a mother whose son thankfully is okay, said that she said that her son was in the best place possible that he could be when this was happening. And we're also hearing from a junior at FSU who was working on some homework when he was alerted about the shooting. Let's listen to that.
Just sitting down doing my work and the alarm goes off. And first you're thinking it's just a fire alarm. It sounds a little different though. And I'm just hearing active shooter. And you kind of just like panic a little bit in the moment. Just like, damn, is that real? Like, take a little bit to process it, then you get to your safe area. I went to a little cubby space, and then you just look down at your phone, look at the news, and like start to process it. Like, damn, people just got shot a couple feet away from me.
There was a close call for a lot of people. And Ken, I want to ask you too, we've talked about what's happening now at the crime scene. The people coming in from various law enforcement agencies, K-9 units, drones, helicopters, everybody else. But from this point on, Who's the lead investigative agency?
So it happened on the campus of Florida State University. It would be the Florida State University Police Department unless they turned it over to another agency, such as federal agencies such as the FBI. They could turn it over to the state, FDLE, to investigate this. So it depends on whether or not they relinquish their part to another agency.
Yeah, at FDLE, this was 3 hours ago, but they just said at the time they were actively engaged on campus there, but they were going to update the public with any more information as possible. But right now it seems like they've just kind of been letting Tallahassee PD take the lead and kind of send out information to the public right now about what's happening. But once again, Tallahassee Police, as you were just talking about, multiple law enforcement agencies are actively on the scene right now as this investigation continues. I know FBI Jacksonville, I believe they're providing support there as well right now.
And we'll know who the lead is once we have this press conference, because they'll be the ones releasing information.
And what kind of information do they get from students? There'll be so many students who saw something. As you pointed out, Anthony, a little tidbit could make a big difference. What do they need to know at this point? They know who they think is the shooter, right?
Well, you ask 1,000 questions to get 1 or 2 answers.
Right.
So that's the way investigators take it when they're looking at witnesses or interviewing witnesses, because you take all their information down, you review it, and then you go back over it, because sometimes the answers change. You know, sometimes their independent recollection kicks in later on as opposed to right then and there, because they're still traumatized and they're telling you what they saw or what they think they saw or what they heard or what they think they heard or whatever. And you can revisit that later on with the same person. Even if you ask the same questions, a lot of times the answers could be different sometimes. So they're looking for whatever information that they can provide that they heard or saw, heard and saw, and they piece it together when they collectively put all of the witnesses together, see how much of it matches, how much is it accurate based on the evidence that they found out, and how much does it match if they interview the suspect and he begins to talk, if he tells the truth.
So we're going to take a live look at the podium behind me. This is where the press conference is going to be, we hope, in about 5 minutes. And Ken, from your expert eye, your legal eye, or rather your eagle eye from your years of training in law enforcement, what's the #1 thing you're going to be listening for in this press conference?
So if I was the PIO to speak on this particular case, I will release the information, first of all, about the victims and how they're doing, the conditions of the victims, the remaining victims. Secondly, I will release information about the suspect and what he did, how he did it. I will release information on what we're hearing from witnesses as well. And not going into grave detail with it, but just on the surface, because you don't want to compromise your investigation, even though they feel that they have the shooter, even though we know that there's 1 person deceased and 5 injured, or 6 injured and 1 deceased. Even though you have all that information, you still don't want to get into the woods with it. You just re-emphasize what we already know and maybe add a little bit more to it.
That's right, because I'm seeing some emails coming from viewers right now. They're saying, well, I heard this happen. I heard this is the number dead. This is the number of shooters. Why aren't you guys saying this? But once again, we want to be as accurate as possible. And Ken, as you were just talking about, you've been a former public information officer. And it's just once again, how important is it to release the correct information? You know?
So I understand the anxiety of people wanting to know. They just have a feeling that they need to know every single thing. You can't know every single thing, because you got to give the law enforcement officials an opportunity to investigate it and vet and present it to the state attorney, whoever's going to be doing the prosecuting. You can't go half shot. So people can hear a whole lot of things. It's kind of like looking at a video from one angle. You don't get the whole picture of everything, but you get a video that's got the whole scenario there. You can see exactly what happened. So hearsay is not acceptable in court.
Right,
so
exactly.
You got to have facts. You got to have ironclad facts to be able to present to the public. So when they stand up before the public, they're speaking from a factual standpoint as opposed to a hearsay standpoint.
Do you get the feeling we don't know for sure if it was inside the student union or outside the student union? That seems to be a bit foggy with some of the things that people are saying.
We'll have to wait to find out.
Yeah. It seems like they've been saying right now it's just near the student union.
I heard near. I heard the word near. Then I actually heard inside also. So you've got all kinds of things going on, but we'll hear it at 4:30 as to where it happened. That's why they have to expand the crime scene, and that's why it's still active, because when you're investigating things like this, you want to retrace everything. You want to retrace the steps of the suspect. When you speak to a witness, you want to retrace what they said. I was standing here at this point. I ran over here and I ducked over there. You want to retrace all those things, or basically recreate all those things. So in the investigator's mind, he or she is seeing what they're saying and putting it together.
Right, and right now the Student Union, Bellamy, the HCB Classroom Building, Rovetta A and B, Moore Auditorium, Shaw, Pepper, Heck House, and Caraway. That's the area on FSU's campus still considered an active crime scene right now. And I know some of you may have seen videos on social media. It appears some students who are actually in some of those surrounding buildings taking videos out of the building at the time when this happened, showing what they were seeing at the time. So we have that information once again on your screen if you're familiar with FSU's campus, showing exactly what is still considered an active crime scene right now and where they're asking people to stay away from. But once again, there's no threat on campus. This is the only area that's currently closed off. Students on campus, they are allowed to move about except in this particular area that you're seeing here on your screen. So 4:30, once again, that's the time that we're expecting to get some more information coming up in a few minutes from Florida State University, coming from officials there. We don't know exactly who's going to be leading this news conference, but we are expecting to get some type of information about what happened on campus today, any available resources, and maybe what the future comes on campus right now, because we know that classes are canceled, other activities at this time. My producer is telling me right now that we are looking at some new video. This appears to come from someone named Garrett that shows students being led out of what appears to be a building there on campus. I saw some students earlier. I think I can see some actually in the distance who have their hands up. News conference is starting right now, so we want to go ahead and take that news conference. They're walking to the podium. It appears to be police there. Looks like they're about to give us an update. I don't know if they are prepared. It looks like they're just kind of all gathering, because you can expect in situations like this, there's going to be a number of officials. We know multiple law enforcement there on scene who are going to be talking and sharing different information. You're going to hear from police. You're probably going to hear from someone on the state level. You're probably going to hear from someone with the school as well. It looks like they are about to talk right now. So let's go ahead and take that full and listen to this update live. It looks like they are still getting ready to speak. He's stepping to the mic right now.
My name is Jason Trumbauer, and I'm the Chief of Police at Florida State University. All Florida State University classes and business operations on the main campus in Tallahassee are canceled through Friday, April 18th. Essential employees should check with their supervisors for further reporting instructions. All FSU athletic events in Tallahassee are canceled through Sunday. At approximately 11:50 a.m., Thursday, April 17th, a gunman opened fire on the main campus of Florida State University in Tallahassee, shooting multiple individuals in the vicinity of the Student Union building. FSU police responded immediately, engaged, neutralized, and apprehended the shooter. 2 victims of deceased are deceased, and 5 individuals have been transported to a local hospital with gunshot wounds. The shooter has also been transported to a local hospital. The 2 deceased are not students. The shooter is believed to be a current FSU student. I do not have additional information on the shooter's identity at this time. Students who need assistance can go to the Donald L. Tucker Center, where the university is providing counseling, health care, and other support services. Family members are also able to go to the Tucker Center for assistance. Students, faculty, and staff are asked to call their loved ones as soon as possible to update them on their status. The student union and the surrounding area is still considered an active crime scene. Individuals should avoid the area. Students should not return to the student union to retrieve personal property at this time. Students may return to their residence halls, but they should otherwise stay indoors on main campus to allow first responders and university staff to do their jobs and respond to those needing assistance. Students may depart campus for the weekend. All classes have been canceled through Friday. Before I turn this over to Chief Revel, I want to thank all the brave men and women of the FSU PD for responding immediately to the scene. I also want to thank the responding agencies who have provided assistance to FSU today big time, including the Tallahassee Police Department, the Leon County Sheriff's Office, the Florida Highway Patrol, Leon County Emergency Medical Services, FDLE, and all other responding agencies today. We really appreciate your support. That's all the information I have at this time. We'll have additional update for you later today. Chief Revel.
Good afternoon. I am Chief Revel with the Tallahassee Police Department. As the shooting occurred today, our officers, as well as every single other officer in this city and county, responded immediately to this scene. Once on scene and once we began working through what was occurring and what we were working, in consultation with FSU, Tallahassee Police Department was asked to take lead on this. So we will be the lead for this investigation in both the officer involved shooting portion of this as well as the homicide portion of this. I will come up after the last speaker and entertain just a few questions, but needless to say, we have multiple crime scenes. This is a very large area we're covering. We have thousands, hundreds of thousands, or hundreds or thousands of witnesses. And again, this is an active, ongoing investigation. So the information that we will be allowed to release right now may be fairly limited. I'll answer what I can at that time. But I will assure you that as soon as we can, any information that becomes available, we will make that available to you. One of the things in the process, and again, understand that this is an ongoing active investigation. So things are happening as we are standing here and as we are speaking. We have identified the shooter, obviously. He's at the hospital. So with more on that, I'm going to allow the sheriff to come up and speak on that portion of it.
Thank you, Chief. As Chief Revel indicated, I'm Walt McNeil, Leon County Sheriff. First and foremost, let me express our gratitude to the responding law enforcement agencies in this community. Our citizens should feel some degree of comfort knowing that your law enforcement agencies are going to respond and do exactly what we did in this case, that is bring the offender to justice and to make sure that we do what we can to make sure we lock him or her up. Let me say to you, this is obviously a heinous crime. Our deepest condolences go out to the FSU family, the families of the students who are here, and we understand that you all have been devastated because of this person's actions. The question as it relates to who is the shooter is 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner, and he's the son of a Leon County Sheriff deputy. Our Deputy Eichner, has been with the Leon County Sheriff's Office for over 18 years. She has a tremendous job that she's done. Her service to this community has been exceptional. Unfortunately, her son had access to one of her weapons, and that was one of the weapons that was found at the scene. And we are continuing that investigation into how that weapon was used and what other weapons perhaps he may have had access to. The alleged shooter was also a long-standing member of the Leon County Sheriff's Office Citizen Advisory or Youth Advisory Council. So he has been steeped in the Leon County Sheriff's Office family, engaged in a number of training programs that we have. So it's not a surprise to us that he had access to weapons. This event is tragic in more ways than you people in the audience could ever fathom from a law enforcement perspective. But I will tell you this, we will make sure that we do everything we can to prosecute and make sure that we send a message to folks that this will never be tolerated here in Leon County, and I dare say across this state and across this nation. Thank you. Let me bring up the FBI Assistant Special Agent in charge, Hubert Reynolds.
Good afternoon. My name is Hubert Reynolds, and I'm the Acting Special Agent in charge of the Jacksonville Field Office. I want to echo those standing with me what a horrific crime this is, and we stand with you fully. We have an office here in Tallahassee, and we are fully engaged with providing any resources that we can bring to bear to help with this investigation moving forward. We've established a digital tips media line where you can upload photos, videos prior to and during the incident. If you were there from social media, please upload all of that. I will give you now the website address. You can upload any tips to www.fbi.gov/FSU shooting. Again, that's www.fbi.gov/FSU shooting. I want to assure you that we are going to bring every available resource to be able to help the community and the local people here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Richard McCullough, Rick McCullough, President of Florida State University. This is a tragic day for Florida State University. We're absolutely heartbroken by the violence that occurred on our campus earlier today. 2 have died. 5 other innocents are being treated for their injuries. We're working to support the victims, their families, and everyone affected by this traumatic event. I just returned from the hospital. The First Lady and I met some of our students who were the victims. Our hearts go out to our students and the victims of this terrible tragedy. I have to say that our law enforcement, our FSU police officers, are absolute heroes in this regard. The call went out, someone called it in, and immediately they responded to the scene and immediately neutralized the suspect and prevented this from being a bigger tragedy. I want to thank them so much for what they do to try to keep our students safe. I want to thank all the law enforcement partners, FSU Police, Tallahassee Police, Leon County Sheriff's Department, Florida Highway Patrol, and Florida Department Law Enforcement, and all other responding agencies for their rapid and courageous response. I want to thank everybody that came out to visit with the students and help us, and to be here today for this press conference. And I appreciate so much the support that you're all providing to our university and to our students. We're fully cooperating with the investigation, and we defer to law enforcement as they continue their work. I'd also like to thank all the healthcare providers at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. They're treating and providing outstanding care to our victims. Right now, our top priority is safety and well-being for all the people in our campus. As it was said, classes are canceled on the main campus today and tomorrow, and all FSU athletics events on Tallahassee are canceled through Sunday. We also want to tell you that counseling and psychological services are available to students, faculty, and staff, and anyone that needs that should call 850-644-2003. We're also providing support for faculty and staff through our employment assistance program. And so if you need any help, please reach out. We'll continue to communicate with the campus community as we know more. This is a deeply emotional time, but we're all here to support each other. We're going to do everything we can to support our community. We're a strong and united community. We're family. And so we'll take care of all of you. And we'll get through this together. Thank you.
All right, at this time we will take a few questions. Let me just reiterate, this was a massive response, a massive response of law enforcement personnel. Our federal, state, local partners have continued to build relationships that long preceded this event. And that came into great play today in the seamless way that we all came together to work these events. But I know you'll have some specific questions. I will tell you right now, we are not going to talk about the victims other than the fact that there are 6 of them, two additional deceased, and then the suspect. So 9 total persons. 9 total persons. Yes, sir.
Have you all been able to talk to the suspect at all? Any idea about motive?
The suspect invoked his rights not to speak to us.
Chief, do we know if the weapon that was used was his parents' service weapon? And if so, what are the rules around storing service weapons?
Right. No, that's a good question. This weapon was a weapon that the deputy previously used. A lot of times, many agencies, mine included, when we transition to a new handgun, the officers are allowed to purchase the handgun they used prior. And correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff, but I believe that's the case here. This was a handgun that deputy used prior to them transitioning to a new handgun, and so it was her personal handgun.
Is she put on leave or?
The sheriff would have to speak to that.
We will do a thorough investigation to look at all aspects of it. There's no cause right now that we're aware of that would require her to be placed on any kind of suspension or otherwise.
Yes, ma'am.
We've been hearing stuff that it was a deputy who was a school resource officer. Is that true?
That is correct.
Chief, those injured, those killed, are any of those members of law enforcement?
I'm sorry?
And so anyone who died in the shooting or was injured in the shooting, were any of them members of law enforcement, whether it be the...
No, they were not. They were not. Yes, sir.
When law enforcement arrived, did the suspects engage with them or did he surrender immediately?
No, they challenged him and ended up shooting. He did not comply with commands and was shot.
Did he fire at officers?
I do not believe he fired at officers.
We've heard that Phoenix may be autistic. Are you able to confirm that detail?
I do not have that detail.
Is there an ID of the victim yet?
I'm sorry?
An ID of the victim.
We're not releasing any of the victim information at this time.
Was the officer aware of any behavioral conditions or concerns or threats prior to this incident?
We were not.
How quickly did officers arrive on scene from the 911 call to when they engaged the suspect?
We will get you that information. I don't have that currently. I assume that would be a question that was asked, but I mean, it was almost immediately. That FSU, obviously this is their campus and they patrol it very well. So they were on scene almost immediately, engaged almost immediately. And then everyone else, again, was a massive, very quick response.
I know that you said that the 2 deceased were not students. Do we know of those 5 that were injured or any of them students?
Again, we're not releasing any information on the students on the victims at this point.
Specifically, what firearm did he use?
I'm sorry?
What kind of firearm was he using?
It was a handgun.
What kind of handgun?
I don't know what type of handgun that was. It was probably a 40. I don't know.
Yeah. Chief, I heard it reported that a shotgun was also recovered on campus. Was that used in the shooting?
We do know that he had a shotgun with him. We have not confirmed anyone was shot with a shotgun at this point. But again, that could change again, there are hundreds and hundreds of witnesses, and as we piece all of this back together, information will come to light that we may not have at this point. So I do not believe so at this point.
We'll take one more question.
Do we know
Will
how
body
many
cam
shots
footage
in
of
total?
radio dispatch or any logs be released in the near future?
I'm sorry, say again.
Will there be any body cam footage or radio dispatch logs or incident reports being released anytime soon?
We will work with the state attorney's office, which we always do, and in pulling together all the information, all the investigative evidence from this case, and in collaboration with State Attorney Campbell, we will make that determination. Obviously, after the case is over, we will certainly, it all becomes available at that point. But as to what we can and will release at that point, like I said before, we're very open, transparent on these things. Again, the officers did an incredible job. But again, some of this is very horrific. This is a horrific incident. And so we will, again, collaborate with the state attorney's office and determine which of that evidence could be released or will not be released. But again, I'll let you know that as soon as we make that determination. So thank you all very much. Appreciate you being here. And just let me reiterate what's already been said. The collaboration between all of the agencies, the federal, the state, the local, all of our first responders, our EMS personnel, our fire department, again, just a massive response.
Wraps up. We want to come back to our studio with Anthony Austin and Ken Jefferson, our crime and safety analyst. And a bad afternoon has, I think you could say fairly, has gotten even worse. This news has gotten much worse than it was before. We thought one person had died. Now we understand there are 2 who have been deceased from this active shooter situation. They are not students. They are not law enforcement agents. There are 5 still in the hospital. And then the shooter himself does have a name now. He's been named as, allegedly, as the 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner, who is the son of a law enforcement agent from Leon County deputy. She's an 18-year veteran of the force. And as you heard law enforcement agents there talk about this, just adds layers to the tragedy for them. The gun that he apparently or allegedly used was her previously owned gun. So as we talk about the facts we've just learned, let's bring Ken in right now. And
yeah, Ken, let's talk a little bit about that, with them being a law enforcement officer, and that this student, who they say they believe this is a current FSU student, had access to this gun.
Yeah, so his mother is a deputy with Leon County Sheriff's Office, and as you heard the sheriff say, that officers can purchase their previously issued gun that they carried. Right. It's kind of like a general rule, and he obviously in some investigation as to how he got it. Was it properly secured? Are they going to hold the deputy liable for his actions because it wasn't properly secured? So those are unanswered questions right now that will be investigated. And he took that weapon and had from my understanding, he had a shotgun with him as well. He didn't use it, but he had a shotgun with him as well. But he obviously used the deputy's gun, which when she purchased it is her personal weapon now, it's not her issued weapon. He got a hold of it and he wreaked havoc in the, near the student union with that. So beyond the actual act of shooting the gun and killing 2 people and injuring the others, they're going to have to investigate how he got that gun. Again, was it properly secured? Was it secured at all? Or did the deputy take for granted that he's a student, he's an adult? I don't have to worry about securing it.
So let's clarify some numbers. At first we said that there was 1 victim. Now we know there are 2. And we said there are 5 in the local hospital. And then we just heard one of the people at the press conference say there are 9. So we can clarify that now 6 are in the hospital, 2 victims shot and killed, and then the shooter himself also shot by law enforcement, but still alive. Yeah. So that makes a total of 9.
That's 9, and he emphasized that the shooter did not comply with the orders from police officers. He challenged them basically, and he ended up being shot. But from my understanding, he has non-life-threatening injuries, so he's going to survive. And they also said that he invoked his rights, and what that means is that he's not going to talk. When you're given your rights, your Miranda rights, the first thing it says you have the right to remain silent, and that's what he's exercising, his right to remain silent, because that was a question whether or not he was really going to talk and start providing information to the police. So now we know the answer to that. He's exercising that Fifth Amendment right.
And we heard the FSU police chief say that they were able to immediately respond and neutralize the threat, as they call it in police speak. They were able to immediately make contact with the gunman as soon as they could to prevent more casualties from happening in this situation. And we also just heard from there that Tallahassee PD, they will be taking the lead on this investigation, my understanding there. Probably because they have more resources, I can imagine.
And those are answers to things that we had questions about. They're going to take the lead. Now it did happen on the campus of Florida State University, and if they wanted to, the FSU police, campus police could conduct the investigation, but they don't have, more than likely, they don't have homicide investigators there and the crime scene units, all of the resources that the police department has. So they'll give it over to that agency. They'll work in conjunction with the lead agency together. They're not out of the picture altogether. They'll work together. And then they also answered the question about response time. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned that you've got the FSU police right there. And it's the middle of the day, students, excuse me, congregate in the student union. So they probably had officers close by or inside.
Right.
And we also talked a little bit about what this alleged shooter was involved with, and they brought up the idea that he was with the Youth Advisory Council for Leon County. So, and I think he used the word that we weren't really surprised that he knew, excuse me, he knew about guns, he knew about weapons, and so there he was able to access what used to be her service weapon and now her personal weapon. And so, as they say, that's just even more tragic to all the people in law enforcement. In fact, he pointed out, I don't think that the general public understands how tragic this is to us.
Right, and you know, he was all involved with his mother's career. He's on the Youth Advisory Council with the Sheriff's Office, and what that is that they share information about police work, how they investigate, various things of that nature. I don't know in the back of his mind if he thought he could get away with this, or it was something that he had an affinity for to try to do something like this. Don't know. He's decided he doesn't want to talk. So whatever information that law enforcement gathers is going to be from the witnesses that has a first-hand account, and anybody else that may know him, that he may have talked with, shared information about what he wanted to do, or find a manifest or something. They're going to have to start from square one and try to get as much information as they can, because he's not going to talk.
Right, so our 5 o'clock newscast is about to start in a few minutes. We have multiple crews down at FSU right now, including our Heather Crawford, our Riley Phillips. Riley Phillips was there at the news conference. They're going to have an update for us in 2 minutes, just being in the room there and speaking with students on campus. But if you're just now joining us as we head into our 5 o'clock newscast, we know 2 were killed today on the FSU campus near the student union. We were just told by police the 2 dead are not students, but they're not releasing a lot of information about their identities at this time. And so the shooter, believed to be a current FSU student. The name of the shooter is Phoenix Eichner. Once again, as you heard Jeannie and Ken discussing there, Eichner is the son of a current Leon County Sheriff's deputy. And we're told that the suspect had access to weapons, as he was a member of the Sheriff's Office Citizen Advisory, or the Youth Advisory Council. The officials say that the suspect's mother purchased one of her former service weapons, and it was her personal property at the time of the shooting.
We also learned a little bit about the time frame. We talked about all day, all afternoon, about FSU sending out that alert to students to shelter in place at 12:01. We just found out that the gunman opened fire, shooting multiple victims at 11:50. So that's 10, 11 minutes, and by that time the students were already alerted.
Yes.
And so we're getting close now to our 5 o'clock newscast. As Anthony mentioned, we have crews on the campus of FSU, and they're at the news conference as well, gathering information. There is so much to cover on this particular story, as it just broadens out to involve not really just FSU, Florida, but the entire country will be looking at this as well. We will be staying tuned now for First Coast News beginning at 5 o'clock.
This has been a First Coast News On Your Side special report. Trust the most accurate weather team. Stream now on First Coast News Plus. Streaming on First Coast News Plus. This is First Coast News on your side. We begin with breaking news.
And our breaking news coverage of the deadly shooting at Florida State University continues right now at 5. I'm Anthony Austin.
And I'm Jeannie Blaylock. The person who fired the shots, police say, is the son of a Leon County deputy. We want to show you video from the campus of police responding and people evacuating from the buildings. Law enforcement sources confirmed to NBC and ABC News that 2 people were killed, 6 people were injured in the shooting. Police say the suspect is 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner, believed to be a current FSU student. He was shot and taken to the hospital. And we want to show you how a road near FSU looks right now compared with earlier this afternoon.
You can see traffic is flowing now here in the area of Macomb and Tennessee Street. Earlier, police completely blocking the street as they investigated this active shooter event. We know FSU sent out an active shooter alert at 12:02 p.m. The alert said it was happening at the student union and everyone needed to shelter in place. I just heard police say there at the news conference, I believe they got the first call at 11:50. You can see where this is in the map on your screen. We do have live team coverage for you tonight, stretching from Tallahassee to here in Jacksonville.
And let's go first now to Riley Phillips. She's live near FSU, and she got an update from police in the last 30 minutes along with all the rest of us. Hey, Riley.
Jeannie, Anthony, yes, some emotion inside that press conference today as law enforcement gave us some more details about what exactly happened near the student union this morning. We now know 2 people are dead. 2 people, they are not students. We also know 6 people are injured. They're currently in the hospital. And the suspected shooter is also in the hospital. He is alive. And as you said, he is 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner. He is the son of a Leon County Sheriff's deputy. Apparently, the son had access. He had access to his mother's weapon, and that was the weapon that was used, they believe, was used in this shooting. The FBI is also involved in this. FSU police is involved in this, and the Tallahassee Police Department is taking lead on this. But again, we now know 2 people were killed, 6 are injured, and the suspected shooter is in the hospital.
Riley, we were speaking with you earlier because I know that you were a student on campus when a shooting actually happened at FSU back in 2014. Tell people who are watching right now a little bit about your experience as a student at FSU when that happened more than 10 years ago.
Yes, Anthony, I was a sophomore at the time here at FSU when that happened. It was late at night. I was asleep. My roommates actually came in and woke me up and told me that a shooting happened. That shooting happened at the Strozier Library, which is actually not too far from the student union. But that same, it was similar in the way that police immediately got on scene and they neutralized that suspect then as well. But yeah, very surreal to be back here at FSU covering a shooting on campus here.
All right, Riley Phillips, thank you so much for giving us that update and also providing that personal perspective for us. Riley is going to remain down there at FSU and continue to talk to students and update us on the situation and share her expertise with us since she kind of knows the layout of the campus.
And our live team coverage continues tonight at the Family Reunification Center near FSU's campus. And Christina Burgess joins us live now, and she can give us more information on where this Reunification Center actually is and what families there are needing to know, because we know a lot of moms and dads really just got in the car and wanted to head right to FSU.
Yeah, guys, I'm out here currently at the Civic Center, and we got here a little bit after 4 when we were seeing a few of the FSU Seminole Express campus buses pulling in and bringing students right here to the Civic Center. We had the chance to see some students get off. They either went to their car or mom and dad were waiting for them right here behind me on that sidewalk to get them. Since then, those buses have now left, and we've also had the chance to see many groups of faculty members also coming out, but they're coming out kind of in groups one by one. They were escorted by police. We also see that there is a American Red Cross here assisting at the Reunification Center for parents who are coming to pick up their kids. I had the chance to speak with a sophomore here at FSU. His name is Daniel, and he tells me that he was shaken up. He's very shocked about everything that happens. He's from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he says a lot of times you hear about things